Dictionary. If you want to live it, see Talladega. Wow, what a first lap. It's the Winston 500. A beautiful Sunday afternoon. It was very cool this morning, but temperatures are beginning to warm up, just like the action is about to warm up on the racetrack. And good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins, and welcome to Talladega. This is where the fastest qualifying stock car lap in history was turned in 3 years ago. But then came the restrictor plate, and the speeds dropped off. As you can see, they were down to 191 miles an hour, but now speeds are beginning to pick up again. And the top speed here this weekend was just a tick under 200 miles an hour. And the guy that turned it in for the first time since 1987 on the pole here at Talladega is Bill Elliott. For more on that, former Winston Cup champion Benny Parsons.
Bob, when Bill Elliott won the pole position here in 1987, he qualified almost 213 miles per hour. NASCAR said that's too fast. Beginning with 1988 season, they put a restrictor plate under the carburetor to restrict the horsepower. Since then, Bill Elliott has not won a pole at Daytona or Talladega. You know, last week we talked about drivers using Martinsville to turn their season around. Bill Elliott in 1990 has had a disastrous year. He has led 6 laps so far. Ned, he's going to have to use this pole position to turn his season around today.
Yes, he will. And another fellow who could use this race to turn his season around is Derek Cope, who won the Daytona 500. He has had a disastrous season since then, but his own friendly turf now, hoping to get back there. If he can win this race today, he will get a $100,000 bonus from Winston, leading into the Winston Million. Morgan Shepherd has been the most consistent driver so far this year. He has finished in the top 10 in every race so far. Now, he used this race starting in 11 races last year to be the most consistent driver for 11 races. But there's a fellow who everyone is looking at to be the one to beat here today. And for more on that, let's go to the pits and Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, Ned, you and I, and certainly a lot of fans, and particularly this driver, cannot forget the last time this particular black Chevrolet ran on the Superspeedway. Daytona Beach, Florida, the opening race of the year. This car, the dominant force throughout the Daytona 500, having led 155 of 200 laps. But that devastating last lap incident has produced a lot of sleepless nights for Dale Earnhardt. Now, Earnhardt hopes to put all those nightmares to rest with a great performance here today. The bad news for the field is this car was the dominant car in Daytona. Childress has had a man working around the clock, working on the plate to get more horsepower here. And if what we saw in practice earlier in the week is any indication, he'll be the man to beat today. But the race may not be won on the racetrack. It may be won somewhere else here today. And for more on that, here's our John Kernan.
Well, Jerry Punch, the race could actually be won from behind pit wall. Now, you think the competition out there on the track is going to be tough. The competition right here in the pits is going to be very, very hot. In fact, in the last couple of weeks, we've seen a couple of teams able to change 4 tires, a full load of fuel, and do it in under 20 seconds. Now, that's the amount of time, 19.3 seconds, that it took me to explain that. Now, if they can duplicate that feat here today, they could give their driver a very, very big advantage on the racetrack.
But the driver, John, has to be careful when he leaves the pits and keep both rear tires pulling and not one rear tire. If he gets that right rear spinning, he can lose some valuable time in the pits.
All right, Benny, it won't be long now. There you see the grid lined up in the pit area, and the engines have been started. In just a moment, we'll be underway with the Winston 500 live from Talladega Superspeedway in Alabama. The Winston 500. Here's a closer look at Talladega Superspeedway. It's 2.66 miles in length. It's a tri-oval. The full lap time was 48.027 seconds. Pole speed 199.3. Banking between 18 and 33 degrees. We'll go 188 laps. The field separation was 8.12 miles an hour. The starting lineup on the pole, his first since Charlotte last year in the Coors Ford number 9 from Dawsonville, Georgia, is Bill Elliott. Outside of the front row will be Ken Schrader from Benton, Missouri in the Kodiak Chevrolet car number 25. The second row, Darrell Waltrip from Franklin, Tennessee in the Tide Chevrolet number 17. And alongside Ernie Irvin from Modesto, California in the Kodak Film Oldsmobile car number 4. Going to row number 3, it's number 3, Dale Earnhardt from Kannapolis, North Carolina, the GM Goodwrench Chevrolet, and Mark Martin from Batesville, Arkansas in the Folgers Coffee Ford car number 6. Going to row number 4, it's Springfield, Wisconsin's Alan Kowicki in the number 7 Xerox Ford. And then the defending champion of the race, Davey Allison from Hueytown, Alabama in the Haviland Ford car number 28. The fifth row consists of Harry Gant in the number 33 Skull Bandit Oldsmobile. He's from Taylorsville, North Carolina. And from Owensboro, Kentucky, Michael Waltrip in the number 30 Country Time Lemonade Pontiac. In the sixth row, it'll be Kyle Petty from Randallman, North Carolina in the number 42 Pete Pontiac. And alongside the Heinz 57 Pontiac, number 57 from Berwick, Pennsylvania is Jimmy Spencer. Rob Moroso starts 13th. He's from Madison, Connecticut, the Crown Petroleum Oldsmobile number 20. And then from Chesapeake, Virginia, the number 5 Levi Garrett Chevrolet, driven by Ricky Rudd. Sterling Marlin starts 15th in car number 94, the Sunoco Oldsmobile. And then the Citgo Ford from Hickory, North Carolina, Dale Jarrett in car number 21. And as you look at the rest of the starting lineup, you can see that the field is behind the pace car going through the 33 degrees of banking between turns number 1 and 2. The pace car will lead them around for a half more lap, and then we should be getting the green flag and the start of 188 laps of absolute unbelievable competition at speeds near 200 miles an hour in the Winston 500. Dick Trickle will carry one of our in-car cameras. There you can see Dick making some final communication checks with his crew before we get going here. We also have the bumper cam on his car looking back at Derek Cope in car number 10. Harry Gant will have an in-car camera. The helmet cam will be on that Skoll Oldsmobile. There is Alan Kulwicki, and we have an in-car camera with him. You see Alan going through the gears, beginning to pick up the pace just a little bit as the field now moves into turn number 4. And there's the view that Alan Kulwicki has. There's Mark Martin on the right and Dale Earnhardt just ahead. Today's purse, $752,019. That's the richest in Talladega history. And you couldn't get another person in the grandstand with a shoehorn. It is packed. Tremendous crowd on hand here as they settle in, begin to wave to their favorite driver as the field passes by. Entering the trioval now, the pace car about to duck off the racetrack. There it goes into the pit area. The field is now in the hands of Bill Elliott, the pole sitter, who qualified at 199.388 miles an hour. Ken Schrader, who's won the pole at Daytona the last 3 years, is alongside in the front row. They move through the trioval now. Remember, the starting line is near turn number 1. Here's the green flag. The race is on. Schrader has the lead as they're about to complete lap number 1. Bill Elliott, with a very poor start, has dropped back several positions. It is Ken Schrader followed by Dale Earnhardt as they head to turn number 1. Once again, Ernie Irvan is running third.
That's what you were talking about, velocity, when they went by that camera at 200 miles per hour. What an exciting race this is.
Davey Allison battle side by side for that 4th position. A big traffic jam behind. That's Ken Schrader battling with Dale Earnhardt.
But Dale Earnhardt takes the lead going into turn 3. Didn't take him long to get from his 5th position up to the lead.
Earnhardt will come off the 33 degrees of banking into the trioval with the lead. Ken Schrader tucked in behind. Then comes Ernie Irvan. Wide battle for 4th position as they come down. Allison on the inside, Waltrip in the middle, and Jimmy Spencer on the outside.
3 wide. This is a wide racetrack, but boy, at these speeds, I don't know.
That's Ricky Rudd on the high side of Darrell Waltrip. As they get to the backstretch once again, that's Bill Elliott, the pole sitter, who dropped back at the start of the race.
They've still got Darrell Waltrip in the middle. Here comes Kyle Petty. He's helping Bill Elliott. They're still trying. There's corner, still 3 abreast.
Greg Sachs in the number 18 car locked in behind Elliott. Make that Petty.
And Darrell's sitting in the middle there, fellas, getting no drafting help from anybody. They're just going by on each side.
this guy, 17, was running third just a moment ago. He's back about 50.
The first three cars have broken away. Earnhardt, Schrader, Irvin, then comes Jimmy Spencer, Davey Allison. And there's still three wide in the middle part of the pack, and a car smoking badly going into turn number 2. Drops to the inside of the track, and that's the Daytona 500 winner. Derek Cope. He was going for a $100,000 bonus from Winston if he could win this race. And of course, it would also make him eligible for the Winston Million. The yellow flag is out with Cope having problems.
He probably has put some oil down in the corner. That's why NASCAR threw the caution flag.
They might or might not race back to the start-finish line. Dale Earnhardt's out front, but the pace car is already on the racetrack, and they told him in the driver's meeting that they were going to try to get the pace car out on the first lap, but Earnhardt wants to keep that lead, so he stays out front. He slows it down a little bit, so he stays in the lead.
Everybody gets slowed down very, very nicely as the pace car is in the second corner in the field. Now heads into turn number 1. Our first caution of the afternoon is because of a blown engine on the number 10 car driven by Derek Cope. The right guard halfway challenge is back. All you have to do to register to win is dial 1-900-246-0101. It costs 95 cents. But then if you are called back after the halfway point and know who is leading at the halfway point, you could easily win a grand prix. Winners must be 18 years of age, and you can also enter by mail. There's part of the crowd on hand here as we are under caution for the first time in the Winston 500 with Dale Earnhardt leading Ken Schrader. We'll be right back. Yellow flag is being displayed. There is number 17, Darrell Waltrip, who has made an unscheduled pit stop. Now, the reason for this caution, a big puff of smoke for the number 10 car. Let's get the report from Jerry Punch.
They are pushing the Purelator Chevrolet back toward the garage. Buddy, what's the problem?
Well, we don't really know. It's internal, whatever it is in the engine. We had a little problem with the timing and everything yesterday in practice, and we may have damaged the motor then. So, you know, we'll just go back to the garage and see if we can do anything to get back out. But right now, it looks like it's all over for the Purelator Chevrolet today.
Tough break. Buddy Parrott, the crew chief on the car that won the Daytona 500.
So Derek Cope, the first car out of the race. You know, Neil Bonnet, who was injured at Darlington a few months ago, is from nearby Bessemer, Alabama, and is regaining his memory. And as a matter of fact, had a news conference held at the racetrack earlier this week. Neil is looking very good. Here are some of the comments that he had during the news conference here at Talladega a couple days ago.
I didn't find out until Wednesday where I was at on this thing, and just simple as it can be, the doctors told me I couldn't get in a race car for the remainder of the season for a year. And I'm being reevaluated every 3 months. I mean, I can't tell you how much I've gained on the thing, but I'm still not totally like I need to be on things. I've never been concerned with breaking this leg again, or puncturing another lung, or getting hurt. But when Dale Earnhardt's pilot flew me home and I stepped off the plane and I didn't know my kids from the people at Hangar 1 in Birmingham, and I walked to the car because I didn't realize that was my children. And my mother and daddy came to visit me, and I asked them who that was. Well, that got my attention. And if that doctor tells me 1 day, 2 days, or a year, or never, it's the only time I'm ever going to listen to one. And the more pressure I had put on me, the more I had a kind of a mental block. And after a few days, I realized if I just took it at my own pace and thought about things and see somebody and recognize them and say, well, you know, I was sitting there and the phone rang and that recorder went off and it'd say, I'm so-and-so calling. I sat there one day and a guy called and left his name. I said, you know, that's the guy I used to hunt with. And I sat on a couch in another room. I sat and hear it. And I looked on the wall and there's a big deer up there. And I said, you know, I shot that deer with Dale one day. I always hunting. And it just, things kind of just spontaneously happen. If I try to make it happen, it doesn't. So that's the reason that it's just been a slow deal. Bobby was the first guy to stop by the house about a week ago. And they were sitting on the couch and Susan was sitting over there kind of refereeing. And between Bobby trying to say what he was thinking and me trying to remember what he was saying, it was a hell of a conversation.
Well, it certainly is good to see Neil Bonnet looking good. And that, of course, is the car that he would be driving here had it not been for that crash. It's under the capable hands of Dale Jarrett now. And Neil Bonnet looking good. We're glad to see that.
At least he hasn't lost his sense of humor.
That's for sure.
That's good.
Well, we thought we were going to go back green, but they decided to keep it out one more time because we still had a safety truck on the racetrack, and so the field is just about to take the green flag again. It's behind the pace car in the 4th turn. Dale Earnhardt is the leader over Ken Schrader and Ernie Irvan. Jimmy Spencer running in 4th position, and Davey Allison is 5th.
And Bob, they're in single file now. They were not in single file as they were running before the caution came out, but NASCAR sorted it out and looked at the cars as they came across the start-finish line and put them in single file. So this is the first time today that they have been in single file.
Now we'll undoubtedly see the draft beginning to play a part in the activity. Dale Earnhardt leading him down through the tri-oval, and the green flag is out. We are back to racing. Now remember, with the restrictor plates, 15/16 restrictor plate, it's a little slower getting back up to speed. But Earnhardt stands on the throttle and takes off toward the 1st turn with Ken Schrader right behind him, and a little bit of trace track opening up between 2nd and 3rd place, Ernie Irvan.
And the 4th place car is Jimmy Spencer, the Heinz 57 Pontiac. Remember, he had a great run going in Daytona. It looks like that's going to carry over to Talladega.
He has come from 12th position up to 4th. Good run for him so far.
Ernie Irvan in number 4, Jimmy Spencer in number 57, running 3rd and 4th.
Can they hook up together and pull back up to those 2 Chevrolets out front? It looks like they are going to be able to. Yes, they have. They moved right up.
Davey Allison running in 5th position and will complete lap number 8.
Don't you know the competitors are getting sick of looking at the back of Dale Earnhardt's car at Daytona and Talladega? As Jerry Punch said, this car led 155 laps of 200. And what did it take him? 2 laps to get to the front here at Talladega today?
He didn't turn in the fastest qualifying speed here this weekend. That, of course, was turned in by Bill Elliott, but very, very strong car on the racetrack. Now here's number 28, Davey Allison, and Mark Martin moving to the inside of the racetrack, and Davey Allison goes into 4th position in a side-by-side battle for 5th between Jimmy Spencer and Mark Martin.
Now Mark Martin's going to need some help from someone else to follow Davey Allison up through there, but then Allison pulled in line, and that sort of left Mark Martin down there by himself. You have to have a partner, but you can pass, as we're seeing here now.
And right behind Mark Martin is Greg Sachs in car number 18. Look at that.
On the apron of the racetrack.
Oh, man, he got really squirrely there as the car almost went to the apron of the racetrack to get into turn number 1. And there's still 3 abreast coming out of the turn onto the backstretch.
This is the first race for Greg Sachs in the ultra slim fast car. This is a car owned by Rick Hendrick and Paul Newman, the actor.
He's trying to head to the front, too.
And doing a pretty doggone good job of it.
Yes,
he's already got by Mark Martin. He's getting some draft off Davey Allison, and he's by Martin.
Greg, of course, ran so well in the Busch Clash. Now he pulls alongside Davey Allison and takes over that position. Greg Sachs doing a fine job, has moved into 4th. And the number 75 car, Rick Wilson, is slow on the racetrack. Smoke pouring from the back end of it, and Rick Wilson is headed for the pits.
Well, that's a tough break for the Dinner Bell Food Line Oldsmobile.
Let's go to Jerry Punch with a comment on Greg Sachs.
Bob, no surprise at all that Sachs is running well here today. The car that he is driving, the same car, he finished 2nd in the Busch Clash at Daytona. It's Rick Hendrick's R&D car. Now, Hendrick working on some things, trying to make the Chevrolets run a little bit quicker, as if Schrader and Waltrip and the guys need to run a little faster, but this is the R&D car. Now, Hendrick just came by a minute ago and said, hey, keep an eye on Sachs. He is going to the front, and I guarantee he's doing it right now. He's moving by Ernie Irvan and is now sniffing the back of his team car, Ken Schrader. So Sachs picked it up where he left off in Daytona as the yellow flag comes out here at Talladega.
Going to the front isn't the word for it. The yellow flag does come out because there's oil on the backstretch, and Greg Sachs has moved into 3rd position. Wow, what a performance from Greg, who started 17th. And by lap 12 runs 3rd. Woof.
Earnhardt better not look back, because I tell you, he has definitely got some competition today. Sachs' car is incredibly fast.
It really is. This is the anniversary date, really, of the Lumina Chevrolets. They were introduced 1 year ago here at the Winston 500. And quite a performance so far here. 3 Chevrolets up front.
Second caution period of the race. This out because of oil reported on the backstretch. We have had 2 cautions so far, but neither for incidents of any kind on the racetrack. Field is slowed behind Dale Earnhardt. We're live from Talladega Superspeedway in Alabama for the Winston 500, and we'll be back with more action right after these messages. By Ken Schrader, Craig Sachs, Ernie Irvan, and Davey Allison. 6 through 10, Mark Martin, Jimmy Spencer, Michael Waltrip, Ricky Rudd, and Sterling Marlin. We've completed 13 out of 188 laps, and we are still under caution. King Richard Petty is back on the racetrack. He has had his problems all day long, as a matter of fact, and Jerry Punch can update us. Jerry?
Well, a couple of pit stops and some updates here in the pits. Of course, Bob, Richard Petty's situation before the race began, the King had a problem. The engine he planned on running here, and the engine that he led the qualifying race at Daytona with, the Mike Kennedy motor, they had a problem with. They pulled the motor out, and as late as an hour before race time, they did not have an engine in the car. They were sitting in the garage area. Everybody else was on pit road ready to start the race, and they didn't have an engine. They borrowed a motor from the Morgan McClure team, the Ernie Irvan Kodak Oldsmobile crew. The motor wouldn't get. They were taking a sledgehammer and beating and banging some of the header plates trying to get the motor in. Finally, about 30 minutes before race time, they got the motor in and pulled him on pit road to get the race started. He has since made a pit stop because the engine has been sputtering a little bit, but he is back on the speedway. Just an update also on the Darrell Waltrip pit stop. Waltrip, who dropped back early in the race there. We saw him early on. He was losing ground to the leaders. He has made a pit stop and changed all 4 tires and bumped the spoiler on the car up a little bit because the car was so loose that he couldn't drive it.
Several others have made pit stops during this caution period, including Morgan Shepherd, Bill Elliott, Lake Speed, and Phil Barkdahl. Lake just now going on to the racetrack. Let's go to John Kernan with a report on Bill Elliott.
Well, Bob, Bill came in, took on 4 tires. They made a chassis adjustment in the left rear. Mike Beam said they're just trying something a little bit different. The car felt pretty good. But Bill, the reason he came in, and you can see them looking over the tires here, that Bill thought he had a flat tire, so that's why he pitted.
All right, there is Elliott as he catches up with the rest of the field, and Goodyear will be donating a check for $1,000 to the Winston Cup Racing Wives Auxiliary in the name of Bill Elliott, who was our pole sitter for today's Winston 500. Still cleaning up the track. There's a little bit of oil on the backstretch, and we have several trucks out on the speedway trying to clear up that moisture. We take a look at the top 10 now as we are again under our second caution period of the afternoon. It's Earnhardt, Schrader, Sachs, Irvan, and Davey Allison, then Martin, Spencer, Waltrip, Rudd, and Marlin. Is the car that has been most impressive, Craig Sachs. Here's Jerry Punch.
Just moments ago, Bob, Sachs was passing 3 cars out in turn 1 and got the left side of his car down on the apron. The car got squirrely almost sideways at over 200 miles per hour. You know what Sachs said on the radio? He keyed the mic and said, "Yeehaw, ride 'em, cowboy." Everyone in the pit started laughing. You think he's having a good time? I think so.
Well, he's very impressive, up to 3rd position after starting 17th. Lights are out on the pace car. We'll be going back to green here in just a moment.
Now you know why I quit driving a race car, don't you, Bob? These guys are nuts.
Richard Petty pulls out of the pits as the rest of the field comes down for a restart.
Well, he'll not be able to catch up to the back of the pack before they get there.
Here comes Dale Earnhardt and the rest of the field through the tri-oval. Harold Kinder waving the green flag. We are back to racing at Talladega Superspeedway in the Winston 500. Sachs will go outside to challenge Ken Schrader for 2nd place.
Well, that didn't work, so he'll try it on the inside, maybe. I'll tell you what, I think he and Schrader are going to get teamed up and go by Earnhardt. I thought they might try it.
Now Craig again looking to the outside at the end of the backstretch. First 3 cars once again break away from the rest of the field. 3 Chevrolet Luminas. Ernie Irvan leads the 2nd pack that also includes Mark Martin, Michael Waltrip, and Davey Allison.
Ricky Rudd also following Davey Allison. He can't figure out which one he wants to follow.
Traffic on Davey Allison. Michael Waltrip falls in behind And look at this four abreast racing there for a moment.
Wow.
Kyle Petty making a move down on the inside, and the Pecan Freeze Pontiac trying to move on the inside of Sterling Marlin. You can see a big pack of cars there behind. There's Hutch Strickland coming up in car number 12.
And Rusty Wallace in number 27. They go 3 wide again down the backstretch, now into 2 abreast formation. The number 12 car is Hut Strickland. Jeff Purvis drove the car last week. It's the Bobby Allison machine. Hut Strickland behind the wheel today. Alan Kowicki running behind Dale Jarrett. And Jimmy Spencer to the left.
Yes, he was up near the front in 4th place not too long ago. Caught down on the inside. Nobody to help him crash there, so they're just driving on by. Looking out the windshield of Alan Kowicki's car as he follows Dale Jarrett.
Just inches to his left is Jimmy Spencer's car. And here's a battle for second position as Greg Sachs goes inside of Ken Schrader and takes second. Greg Sachs is now right behind the leader, Dale Earnhardt.
And I can't tell you how difficult that is to be the 3rd place car and pass the middle car in a 3-car draft. Normally, the first 2 team up go by the first car, and then the 2nd place car passes him. Well, look, they're leaving Schrader in the dust. These 2 guys might get hooked up and drive away.
And no one thought that would happen, especially early in the race, Benny, but they might prove everybody wrong.
There you can see the interval opened up between Greg Sachs and Ken Schrader here in just a matter of moments as Sachs drafts with Dale Earnhardt down the backstretch. There it is. You can see it's opened up to 5 or 6 car lengths as Ken Schrader is just left behind. Look at it. It grows now as they move into the 33-degree banking.
Yeah, he has lost their draft. He'll get a little effect from it, but not enough to keep up with him. He'll have to wait on that 2nd pack to come out.
And here comes the 2nd pack, and Ernie Irvin is continuing to lead. Mark Martin and Sterling Marlin and Michael Waltrip and Kyle Petty. So those 5 cars run together, then a little bit of racetrack and several others, but now further back. Oh, West Racing. Again, Alan Kowicki is right in the middle of things there with Harry Gant.
Jimmy Spencer there. Jimmy's going sort of backwards. Up near the front. Here's Harry Gant with the helmet cam on.
And a battle for the lead. Sachs is going to take Dale Earnhardt at the end of the backstretch. He drops low, and Greg Sachs moves around Earnhardt. Greg Sachs leads the Winston 500.
Benny, that's impressive.
That is very, very impressive. He still hasn't led the lap. He's got to come back to the start line before it's official. But it looks like he might be able to make it. He's got a 2 or 3 car length advantage on Earnhardt.
And there he crosses the line, so he picks up 5 Winston bonus points. Now the 25 car has now joined this 2nd pack as the first 2 cars move away from everybody else.
Now probably Schrader and that other group will be able to run down Earnhardt and Sachs. But you know something, Bob? This was the first lap Greg Sachs has ever led in Talladega.
And he did it in impressive style. He averaged 196.390. Here is Hut Strickland moving beside Dick Trickle, Terry Labonte, Alan Kowicki, Rob Moroso, all battling for spots.
Well,
that's Harry Gant on the back end of that pack.
When they're running side by side, that's costing them a lot of time on the racetrack because those people in front of them are running single file, just pulling that much farther away.
That's the thing, you have to be very careful when you start to make a pass that came on Talladega. You got to go ahead and make the pass. If you can't, you need to fall back in behind that other car because, as Ned said, cars running side by side, it just kills the cars. They will not run.
66, Phillips 66 in-car camera looking back at Alan Kowicki and others. Now
there's Kowicki looking back at him.
Looking at Dick Trickle and Terry Labonte. Rob Moroso trying to squeeze in. There's the bumper cam looking back at Alan Kowicki from Dick Trickle's car. How fast that white line goes by. Like Davey Allison said in the opening, it becomes a solid white line.
That's about 14th through 20th position we're watching here now. Alan Kowicki started in 7th, and now running about 17th.
Greg Sachs continues to lead. Now it is a 4-car battle, and Dale Earnhardt takes a look to the inside down the backstretch. Here comes Ken Schrader and Ernie Irvan as they have both caught up to the first two. Greg Sachs leading his first lap at Talladega.
Boy, did Ernie Irvan give Ken Schrader some help when he caught up to him with that Oldsmobile. Just helped to push him right back up to Earnhardt and Greg Sachs.
Earnhardt again looking to the inside, and Sachs at the start-finish line. But dropping in behind Greg, entering turn 1. Schrader moves a little bit high on the racetrack, allowing Ernie Irvan to take a look at the inside, and Irvan challenges for 3rd position, and he's going to pass Ken Schrader. Ernie Irvan goes to 3rd.
Well, looks like he's going to try to get Earnhardt too, but the move cost him. No one went with him. He got sort of hung out to dry down there on the inside, and if you don't have that dancing partner or drafting partner, you're going to get caught down there, and they'll drive right on back past him.
But he's back. He's got Mark Martin. Now he's going to tow Mark Martin and Sterling Marlin back in front. And it looks like these guys are not falling back as badly on the inside as they used to.
No, we have seen them go all the way to the back of the pack, but Ernie's car is very strong, so he was able to pull back in line and only lost a few cars.
6 cars now in the lead draft. We showed you in the opening how the speeds dropped to 191 miles an hour with the restrictor plate, but because of a tremendous amount of work by crew chiefs, they have managed to find about 8 more miles an hour. They've really been working with that restrictor plate. We'll be right back. As Dale Earnhardt has gone back out in front of Greg Sachs. It's Earnhardt, Sachs, followed by Ken Schrader running in 3rd spot, and then comes Ernie Irvan. Right behind Ernie is Mark Martin. And then comes Sterling Marlin. 6 cars hooked up in the draft.
Sachs car moving up the racetrack a little bit. We're going to have to watch him. The car might be going away the chassis just a little bit because he ran higher down in 1 and 2 than he has been running. We'll see what happens. We're just about to go in turn 1 now.
Sachs drops low, looks to the inside.
Going up a little bit as he came off of the turn bit. He was able to stay, but look, he jumped just a little bit loose as he came off of that turn. The back end went out a little bit on him.
Let's go to Jerry Punch. And Jerry, the pit crew on the Greg Sachs car doesn't have quite as much experience as some of the other crews.
No, they don't, Bob. And as John Curtin said at the beginning of the show, the race could really be won back here behind pit wall. And they're getting ready to bring Sachs in now because the last lap he came by, we saw him skitter up in turn 1, and the car has gotten very, very loose. They're concerned about possibly having a tire going down. A lot of cars now going by. Schrader has gone by. Ernie Irvan has gone by. And, well, Ernie Irvan is trying to get by him, and it looks like they're concerned about a tire going down. They're getting ready here in the slim fast pit. A lot of concern here. If they can pull it off with good pit stop today and keep the car up front, we may see another upset like he pulled off in Daytona in 1985. The crew here getting set. That's Gary Dehart, the crew chief, talking to Greg Sachs. They would love to be able to make this tire change if they need to and keep this car in the lead lap. They feel like they can win it. And I tell you, a lot of guys will feel comfortable when he passed early on, feel he can win it too.
Well, he's dropped back to 4th position, and it moves high on the track again, allowing Mark Martin now to pass him also. So indeed, Greg Sachs is dropping back. Here comes Sterling Marlin, as Sachs is now back to 5th, but does not show any sign of coming in for a pit stop.
Hey, Sterling Marlin has looked strong here too. He started 15th and now running in 6th in the Sunoco Oldsmobile.
And with a comment on him, let's go to John Curtin.
Well, the reason he might be running well, they're trying a new strategy. Steve Lloyd, the crew chief, who is usually down here in the pits calling the shots, is upstairs as a second spotter calling some of the shots, and he's leaving the crew work to Herb Hooperich, the team manager. So right now it seems to be working pretty good for the Sunoco Olds.
Sterling Marlin began this race in 15th position, and he moved to 10th at the end of 10 laps, and right now with 29 laps completed, Sterling Marlin is at the tail end of the lead draft in 6th position.
Bob, I've always thought that the crew chief could make better decisions where the spotters watch the race up above than they can down in the pits.
Here is Hut Strickland and Terry Labonte running side by side. This group of cars has been running together for several laps as we get the perspective from Harry Gant, the helmet cam.
That's 12th and 13th positions up front. So that's about 12th through 20th position in that pack of cars. There are 8 cars in that pack.
And that car seems to be moving around a lot on Harry.
There's some bumps down in turn 1. His head's going to bob around quite badly.
Plus the fact that to run here at Talladega, because of the high banks and the speed you run, you have to put such strong springs in the car. And when you hit one of those bumps, by golly, you're going to feel it.
Terry Labonte leading Harry Gant and Hut Strickland. And then comes Alan Kulwicki. And Jeff Bodine. There's Brett Bodine, and look at this string of cars.
We see Darrell Waltrip coming into the picture there, the bright orange car. He made a pit stop, so he's coming back up through the pack.
And Bill Elliott is that far back also. He was the pole sitter and currently runs in 20th position. So it has been a very bad first 31 laps for Bill Elliott.
He also has made a pit stop and changed tires and made a chassis adjustment on that Ford.
Now the others are going, those who haven't stopped are going to be due for pit stops in the next perhaps 10 laps or so. So if they don't get a caution, Bill Elliott, Darrell Waltrip, some of those who have made pit stops might be pretty good things.
From the Phillips 66 in-car camera, looking at Bill Elliott. Pulling alongside of Dick Trickle in the banking between turns 3 and 4. Now onto the tri-oval, and Bill Elliott has picked up that spot. Just ahead is Buddy Baker, the all-time winning active driver here at Talladega with 4 wins.
I'm a sponsor on Baker's car, Bob. One of the sponsors on the car this week.
I heard about that.
Yeah, Judy Donlevy was bad-mouthing about needing money, so I gave him $5 and wrote my name on the roof. So
big-time sponsor.
Elliott in 19th, just ahead. Brett Bodine actually beside Bill now. And Buddy Baker right there also in car number 90.
Brett was up to about 11th place not too long ago, but he slipped out of the draft with Ricky Rudd, Dale Jarrett, and Rusty Wallace, and now he's moved back into a bigger pack.
We do have pit stops coming up. Jerry, how are things progressing out of the pit?
As we have seen before with restrictor plate racing, it's very important to have someone to help you out, not only on the racetrack, but also on pit road. Therefore, just moments ago, Richard Broom, who was the team manager for Kenny Schrader, walked into the children's pit and said, hey, when are you guys going to pit? Why don't we do it together and use the draft to catch everybody else back up front? So apparently they're working some kind of deal here to pit together and to make their way back up to the pack using the draft.
All kinds of race strategy being played out here at the Winston 500 because drafting is so important. Now we see Dick Trickle moving alongside of and about to pass Brett Bodine in the Quaker State Buick. And there's Rob Moroso in car number 20.
Yeah, Dick was hoping Rob Moroso would come with him, but he didn't, but he's going to make the pass anyway.
Indeed he does, and now he pulls in on Bill Elliott.
Yeah, he got the help of those cars up in front of him, which you have to have. Well, that's become a big pack of cars. A moment ago, it was only Ricky Rudd, Rusty Wallace, and Dale Jarrett. Now that big pack of cars has caught up to them, so...
As they cross the line, the lead pack is just coming onto the backstretch. So that's the interval between the leaders, the first 6 cars, and this group of cars.
We see Kulwicki on the inside of the racetrack. He had a very, very good qualifying run. Now he's falling back since the beginning of the race.
Looking out his rear window at Dick Trickle. Now we'll look out at Trickle up to Alan Kulwicki. Those cameras looking at each other there. Back at that big pack of cars.
Let's see how things are going back up front meanwhile. It is still Dale Earnhardt leading. Ken Schrader running second. Ernie Irvin is third. Then comes Greg Sachs. Then Mark Martin. And then Sterling Marlin. 6 cars continue to run together in the lead draft here at Talladega. 35 laps out of 188 have been completed. And we should be seeing pit stops within the next few laps. And to prepare for that, let's take another break and be back for more live coverage from Talladega.
Now there's
on ESPN, the Las Vegas Senior Classic, the final round. That's from Las Vegas, Nevada. And that will be coming up right after the Winston 500 here on ESPN. Well, these first 6 cars, guys, have just pulled away from everybody else. They're drafting well together, but everybody else is being left in the dust.
Yeah, that's smart of them to do that, really, because it allows them to pull away. And the longer you stay under green flag running, the bigger advantage it'll give. They can come into pits and get back out and still be in somewhat of a pack of front-running cars.
Meanwhile, these are the guys that they drafted away from. Kyle Petty and Michael Waltrip, and they are running 7th and 8th by themselves.
They're just going by the start-finish line. The leader coming off the second corner, so they got plenty of ground to make up.
And then we drop on back and show you the interval between that duo and the next group of cars being led by Harry Gant. This is the trio, including Terry Labonte and Dale Jarrett.
And they have come out of that big pack of cars back behind there. Harry Gant and Terry Labonte had dropped back in the early part of the going. But they came through that pack of cars. Dale Jarrett was able to pick up the draft and ride with them. So they have pulled away from that big pack of cars we were looking at a few moments ago.
There you can see as we look out to Harry Gant's back glass at Terry Labonte. Start seeing pit stops in a couple of more laps. 9th, 10th, and 11th right here. Gant, Labonte, and Jarrett.
Tony Glover has been standing on pit road with a pit board in his hand. Tony Glover, the crew chief on Ernie Irvin's Kodak Film Oldsmobile. As I look down pit road, he's standing there like he wants to make a pit stop, but he's afraid to pit by himself. He wants to pit with someone else. Like they talked about from the pits a moment ago. You got to pit with somebody, so when you go back on the racetrack, you have a drafting partner.
And hope that you make equal pit stops. So that everybody does their job at exactly the same time.
40 laps are on the board. 40 laps have been completed.
Terry Labonte looked like he was pulling down there for a moment, but I guess he just made a little early entrance into turn 3. To try over here, that was.
9th, 10th, and 11th. Back up front we go, because we do anticipate pit stops before too much longer. It is Dale Earnhardt that continues to lead the Winston 500. Schrader, 2nd. Irvin, 3rd. Sachs, 4th. Let's see if they pit this time around.
We understand that Earnhardt and Schrader will pit together once they do it.
Let's see. Yes. They're all 6 of them. All 6 of them are coming in at the same time. Let's see how things go. Jerry Punch is in Dale Earnhardt's pit.
Looks like a semaphore class out here, a signaling corps. A bunch of arm waving and all this cooperation and getting all 6 cars to pit at one time. Earnhardt is pitting. Likewise, Mark Martin is pitting. Schrader on the bottom of your screen. Split screen, you're seeing the Earnhardt separate screen work, changing right side tires. Likewise, Mike Slattery, Richard Broom in the crew for Kenny Schrader's Kodiak Chevrolet. Earnhardt is down the way. Let's go pit road to the early part of the pit. Sterling Marlin just completed a 4-tire change, and he is spinning his tires. Benny was talking about that. That cost him some time getting out of the pits, but it's nonetheless a pretty good pit stop by the crews. They took on 4 tires, 2 tanks of gas, and also they did not make a chassis adjustments to the cars, handling well.
And so Sterling Marlin pulls back out onto the racetrack. He passes Michael Waltrip coming out of the pits. There's still several cars on pit road. Here comes Davey Allison out. Leader is 42, Kyle Petty. And here he comes in for a stop.
Yeah, Michael Waltrip, who was running with him, made a pit stop the lap before, so Kyle was sitting out there by himself. So he said, well, I better stay out here. And let's go down to the pits and Jerry Punch.
Kyle Petty bringing the pink Pontiac in, and the crew down, Gary Nelson, going to work on that car. They will change right side tires, clean the windshield, and making sure they get as much opening in the grill as possible. John Wilson, the engine builder, looking at the front grill, make sure they're getting as much air up across the front of the car into the cowl. A little trouble now with the right rear tire. Finally, they get the tire, and he smokes that right side tire a little bit, and he gets the car moving down pit road.
So we have seen a couple of cars spin their tires, as Benny warned in the early stages of our show, that it really causes a car to slow down and not make as quick an exit off of the pit road as he would like. Right now, the leader of the race is Buddy Baker. However, he has not stopped. Now we may, yeah, here he comes. And just ahead of him is Rusty Wallace. Green flag pit stops being made. Buddy Baker in the Benny King Ford slides to a stop. And John Kernan is in Rusty Wallace's pit for this stop.
Rusty Wallace has the Kodiak Pontiac, or I should say the Miller Jr. Ralph Pontiac, excuse me. Barry Dotson and crew just go for a 2-tire change, and Rusty is down the way.
And here comes Alan Kulwicki out of the pits. There's the number 12 car, Punch Strickland, also moving out. We watch Alan Kulwicki move up through the gears and pull back out onto the 2.66-mile racetrack of Talladega.
Bob, they were told in the driver's meeting this morning that they could keep their left wheel right down on that white line as they go out of the pits, and we can see that's what...
There's a car that ran out of fuel. It looked like Brett Bodine was pushing.
Now watch the P car leave the pits.
Oh, it falls off the jack, first of all. That's the trouble they had with the right rear that Jerry Punch was talking about, because the jack went down too early. They finally get the right rear changed. He takes off. He spun the tires a little bit, but I don't think he lost a lot of time leaving the pits with that.
Rusty Wallace got out cleanly, no spin at all from his tires. All right, now back to the action on the racetrack as green flag pit stops have just been completed. We watch Morgan Shepherd along with the number 11 car of Jeff Bodine. Also right there is Darrell Waltrip.
Now they are up front now because they had made pit stops during the last caution at about 12 laps, so they can go another 10 laps or so before they'll need to come in.
So Brett Bodine, or rather Jeff Bodine, is shown as the leader here with 45 laps completed. We'll be back with more of our live coverage in just a moment. Darrell Waltrip is leading Morgan Shepherd. Last week's winner, Jeff Bodine, was in the lead. He has, however, come in for a pit stop. Now, several of these cars are off sequence from the majority of the field, including Jeff Bodine. So is Darrell Waltrip and Morgan Shepherd.
We saw a group of 4 cars go by as Bodine was leaving the pits. He's going to have a hard time catching those cars. They're going to be about a quarter of a lap ahead of him. Here's Darrell Waltrip. He is the leader of the race. Morgan Shepherd now is running second.
And again, these guys pitted earlier when everybody else didn't, and so they are going to have a pit stop in the next 6-7 laps.
Maybe for Darrell Waltrip the next 10 laps. He always gets exceptionally good gas mileage.
Here's Morgan Shepherd moving to the inside of Darrell Waltrip, and Shepherd, number 15. Bud Moore, Motorcraft Ford, goes to the front.
Well, he wants to lead at least 1 lap because he's in second place in the Winston Cup point standings. If he gets back to the start-finish line still in the lead, that means he'll pick up 5 bonus Winston Cup points.
He came into this race 52 points behind the Winston Cup points leader, Dale Earnhardt. As we indicated, he has finished in the top 10 every single race in 1990, Morgan Shepherd. Meanwhile, Bill Elliott, our pole sitter, in number 9, finds himself now in 4th position. He thought he had a tire going down, and we get a report on that from John Kernan.
Well, Bob, yes, he did have a tire going down. Right here in the tire, it is nothing more than a little pinhole. And you can feel the air still escaping from here. And the tire was definitely going down. Bill had wanted to stay out a little. You remember he pitted at the same time Waltrip and those guys did several laps ago. So he would have liked to have stayed out a few more laps, but he was unable to. Now let's go down pit road to Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, gentlemen, we've always seen these gas and go stops late in the afternoon of a race. We just saw a gas and go early on here in the Jeff Bodine crew. Now, I talked to Tim Brewer when they brought Bodine in a moment ago. They put gas in the car. Junior Johnson himself cleaned the windshield, and they just sent Bodine down pit road. And Brewer said, hey, if you don't need tires, why put them on? Just because everybody else does. It's not following the leader out here. You just take a chance on messing up the stagger. So I guess what they're telling us is, and what maybe the guys in the booth can react to, is that tire wear isn't a real factor here at Talladega.
Interesting strategy, no change of tires on the Jeff Bodine car.
Well, yesterday we saw a 300-mile race here in Arkansas, 300-mile race yesterday, and the winner of the race, Jimmy Horton, just used 6 tires. They changed the right sides, but said they really and truly did not need to change them, that they would run with no problem for 300 miles. I'm sure that Jeff Bodine saw that information from the other teams, from the teams yesterday, decided he was not going to change tires for at least a couple hundred miles.
Morgan Shepherd still leads Darrell Waltrip. Now 51 laps about to be completed. These guys will still have to pit in the next few laps. There goes Bill Elliott trying to pass both.
Boy, he's taking off it.
He's got those new tires on. Takes the car high on the racetrack. And the fans down below us are standing and cheering for the Dawsonville, Georgia driver, Bill Elliott.
What, that's pretty doggone impressive because he was about 15-20 car lengths behind them just a couple of laps ago. He ran them down. They They were running together, Morgan Shepherd and Darrell Waltrip. Elliott ran them down and passed them. And it looks like he's trying to drive away.
Now, he is not on the lead lap. He has not taken the lead, just gotten a lap back. Darrell Waltrip has come in for his pit stop, and Jerry Punch is right there.
The Tide crew getting ready to service Darrell Waltrip as he brings his Chevrolet down pit road. Remember, Waltrip made a pit stop early on during one of the cautions because the car was so loose. They changed all 4 tires and worked on the rear spoiler. Now they will change right side tires. Eddie Dickerson takes the right front tire off. Sandy Jones, the crew now putting a lot of wedge in the car, jacking some weight in the right rear of the car. And they are trying to make the car a little bit tighter. He's down over the jacket away. Good pit stop here for Jeff Hammond and the crew.
14.8 seconds for Darrell Waltrip, and the Tide Chevrolet moves back out onto the racetrack. Morgan Shepherd is continuing to lead. We expect a pit stop from him very soon, and here it is. John Curtin will call the pit stop for Morgan Shepherd.
The crew's waiting for Morgan to pull his Ford Thunderbird into the pit. Here he comes as he gets the car slowed down. Gets it stopped in the pit there to go to work on the right side. Donnie Wingo going to work on the right front tire. They've got it off. It looks like it's going to be only a 2-tire change. 2 cans of Unical gasoline going in. And now he almost killed the car. 14.2 seconds. Morgan almost killed the car as he brought it up, but he got it the clutch in quick enough, and he is away in 14.2.
All right, Morgan Shepherd moving back out, and guess who's in the lead once again? It's Dale Earnhardt leading Ken Schrader, and that's how close they are.
Looks like the Schrader's Kodiak crew had a pit stop just as well as the GM Goodwrench crew, because here they are, still bumper to bumper.
They come down and complete 54 laps of the 188-lap Winston 500. We're glad you can join us on this Sunday afternoon from Talladega, where Dale Earnhardt continues to lead the Winston 500, and Ken Schrader is right behind him. Davey Allison is in for a pit stop. Jerry Punch will report on this stop.
Well, not a good sign for the defending champion of the Winston 500. Davey Allison apparently felt a vibration in the car and a little bit of a miss in the machine. They have brought the Haviland Ford down pit road. They raised the hood, looking possibly for a plug wire on. Now, as you hear, he has fired the car here on pit road. They are trying to decipher what the problem is, and he's losing valuable time. The defending champion here a year ago. I mean, the total frustration. They have really put this team together over the past few weeks, coming back for a great win in Bristol, Tennessee, but they were hoping to be able to get it together on the Speedway. And they've now just lost 1 lap here in the pits, and they still sit here trying to decipher what the problem might be.
Matter of fact, a 2-time winner here at Talladega in 1987 and last year. And look at Greg Sachs. He is catching Earnhardt and Schrader, and he is doing so by himself with no drafting help.
Without the help of another car, he has run him down. He lost quite a bit of time in the pits. We have 4 or 5 seconds. They beat him out of the pits, but he has run him down.
The Big A Auto Parts pit stop performance on Dale Earnhardt. Now, the driver time is the time that it takes him to slow down and speed up coming in and out of the pits. The time the car is stopped and the crew goes to work is reflected there in the 15.4. So the total time for Dale Earnhardt's pit stop was 33.4 seconds, including driver and crew effort. Now, he went into the pits in the lead, and he came out in the lead, and he pitted on lap 40. That was about 18 laps ago. Now Ken Schrader will take a look at how it compares with Dale Earnhardt. The driver, 20.1 seconds to slow down and speed up. It took the crew 14.6 seconds to do their job of fueling the car and changing the tires for a total of 34.7. So Earnhardt had the better overall time, but still Schrader was able to come in second place and go out in second place, and they are that close. And here comes Greg Sachs. Unbelievable. That slim, fast Chevrolet is back up front.
He ran them down by himself. Now Schrader and Sachs look like they're going to hook up and try to go by Earnhardt. Yes, they are. They're trying to draft and get by Earnhardt. Schrader has not led the race today, I don't believe.
And Schrader is now in the lead, but of course he'll have to lead as they cross the stripe before he gets the 5 bonus points. Let's go to Jerry Punch for a quick update on Davey Allison's situation.
Well, the trouble continues. They are pushing the Hamilton Ford back to the garage area, but they hope to be back. Apparently, they diagnosed a broken rocker arm on the 5th cylinder in the engine. Robert Yates hopefully hasn't hurt the motor yet, so they'll take it back and change the rocker arm and try to get him back out to pick up some valuable points.
All right, we'll wait and see if Davey Allison can get back out onto the racetrack. Ken Schrader is about to lead this lap, and so he does get the points. Schrader followed by Earnhardt and Sachs. Davey did go out. Now he's pulling around the racetrack and going behind the wall. There's Davey Allison.
I think that they figured it was quicker for him to drive around the racetrack into the garage area than the crew to push the car. So he just simply drove around the racetrack into the garage area.
Plus, he gets one more lap on the board.
Again, we remind you that you can win a Pontiac Grand Prix this afternoon if you know who leads at the halfway point. To register, dial 1-900-246-0101. It'll cost you 95 cents, and you have to be 18, void where prohibited. The right guard halfway challenge if you are called back after the halfway point, and if you know who is leading at the midway point, you can win a Pontiac Grand Prix. Earnhardt and Greg Sachs are currently running first, second, and third. The halfway point will be lap 94, and we are on lap 61.
If they keep running like this, they're going to get there in a hurry.
In fourth position is Mark Martin in car number 6. Just ahead of him is the number 72 car, and that is Phil Parsons.
Car owned by Phil Barkdahl. There comes Buddy Baker. Phil made some unscheduled pit stops. There's some laps down. He's going to drive the car at the Winston 2 weeks from today.
Meanwhile, we're talking about that car. Let's say hello to Keith Connect, who was the team manager for Phil Barkdahl for a while. Keith is in the hospital. He's very well known around sport of auto racing, has the Hawkeye Racing News, and he's waiting for a heart to have a heart transplant.
Look at Greg Sachs looking to the inside of Dale Earnhardt, trying to take over second position, but he decides to fall back in single file formation as they maneuver the 33 degrees of banking in turns 1 and 2. Now onto the backstretch. Here are the cars that have dropped out of the race. Derek Cope, the Daytona 500 winner, was first out. Also behind the wall, Richard Petty and Davey Allison.
You know, Bob, Dale Earnhardt's car does not like second place. I don't think that the car is nearly as comfortable to Dale back behind these cars as it is when he's in front. Maybe that's why he led so many laps in Daytona, because the car felt so good up there.
I can guarantee you something else, too. Dale Earnhardt doesn't like second place anytime. Running back in 5th position, Ernie Irvin in car number 4. And there are several cars on the same lap right behind Ernie. These guys about a half lap behind the lead trio. Sterling Marlin is right behind Ernie. Then comes Harry Gant, Michael Waltrip, and Kyle Petty as we go inside Gant's car.
Two Oldsmobiles drafted together. Sterling Marlin is the Sunoco Oldsmobile. Harry Gant is the old Detroit Gasket Oldsmobile.
Sterling Marlin lost a lot of ground going through that corner. And they changed 4 tires on Sterling's Oldsmobile the last pit stop.
Fifth, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Now 9th, Terry Labonte. And 10th, Kyle Petty. Petty, the last car there in that group, is not on the lead lap. He did go a lap down because he pitted twice. So Kyle Petty is not on the same lap as these other guys. Once again, back up front we go and see that Greg Sachs continues to try to take away second place from Dale Earnhardt, but it's still Schrader, Earnhardt, and then Sachs.
Three Chevrolet Luminous. As you mentioned a little bit earlier, Bob, the first anniversary of the Chevrolet Lumina. It looks like they're having quite a party today.
sportsmanship seen on the racetrack and in the pit area, as Jerry Punch can tell us.
Bob, I don't think I've ever seen more cooperation what we're seeing here today. In fact, just moments ago, we talked about how they're trying to fit together with Earnhardt and Schrader. Well, Kenny Schrader's engine builder, Kenny Bingham of B&R Motors, went up to the Earnhardt pit and say, hey, what kind of gas mileage are you guys getting? Here's what we're getting. He showed him what kind of gas mileage that Schrader was getting. In fact, Schrader, they pitted on lap 41 and probably could run considerably further if they had to. But Earnhardt isn't getting near the gas mileage Schrader's getting. So I said, okay, I tell you what, if you guys aren't getting the good gas mileage, you make the call. Whenever you want to pit, we'll pit with you so we can stay together and stay up front.
That's to the last pit stop.
That's till things get down to the nitty-gritty. And we'll see how things go. There are the first three in the Winston 500 at Talladega Superspeedway. It's Schrader, Earnhardt, and Greg Sacks. Back with more of our live coverage right after this. Ken Schrader continues to lead the Winston 500, and just ahead of these three cars that are running by themselves, a group of 13 cars that stand a chance of going a lap down. Jimmy Spencer is well off the pace. He's to the inside of the racetrack and being lapped by the lead trio. And now there are 12 cars sitting just ahead of these guys that stand a chance of going a lap down, including our pole sitter, Bill Elliott.
Yes, he's at the back of that pack of cars. You can see the red car. He would be the first one that they would lap.
Bill Elliott by himself has run this pack down, but I don't know that he's going to be able to get through it. Look at this group of cars, and they all are going to try to stay. There's Elliott on the inside, Darrell Waltrip on the inside, Dick Trickle, a lot of cars. They can go a lap down if the leader, Ken Schrader, would go by.
It's going to be interesting to see how these three guys move through this traffic.
The first car in jeopardy is last week.
Jeff Bodine.
Jeff Bodine, the winner last week.
All three of them are pasted up high on the racetrack.
Jeff Bodine now a lap down.
And we show you the field rundown after 68 laps as we watch the leaders in heavy traffic.
Look, Earnhardt's on the inside, Schrader on the outside. Earnhardt has chosen to go with Bill Elliott. Schrader back on the back bumper of Alan Kulwicki. Let's see who can win the race.
Greg Sacks has joined Dale Earnhardt at the bottom of the racetrack, while Schrader has chosen the high line. Schrader may have the advantage here, although they stay just about side by side. Now Earnhardt's going to move back up on top, and so will Greg Sacks. All this behind Alan Kulwicki. Waltrip to your right.
Darrell Waltrip, Bill Elliott, Jeff Bodine, all now a lap down. Just about to put Alan Kulwicki a lap down.
Bill Elliott started on the pole. Darrell Waltrip started third, and now they're a lap down.
Kulwicki started seventh, is about to go a lap down. Now from Dick Trickle's Phillips 66 race cam, looking back on Bobby Hillin to the left, and Schrader now ducking in behind Bobby Hillin. Now we begin to see Schrader once again on the right.
Now, some of these cars will be able to pick up those leaders and draft away from that big pack of cars. They've just been waiting for some fast cars to come along. Who will it be?
Bobby Hillin, the car directly in front of the white car. The white car in the middle of the screen is the leader, Ken Schrader. The black car, Dale Earnhardt, is running second. Schrader has chosen to go behind Bobby Hillin. Now he tries to go inside of him.
They come through the tri-oval, three abreast.
Wow, this is Schrader, Earnhardt, and Greg Sacks doing a great job getting through some heavy traffic. These guys are running 200 miles an hour, weaving in and out of the traffic.
Hey, you think traffic gets heavy on a short track in tough class sometimes? How about here?
It's Rob Moroso on the outside of Schrader. He goes a lap down, and Earnhardt right up on the back bumper of Schrader. Dale Jarrett on the outside in the Sitco Ford, number 21. Now a lap down.
And Ricky Rudd is about to go one down, as is Rusty Wallace. Morgan Shepherd is leading this pack of cars.
Hut Strickland is running second. All these cars in jeopardy.
As Richard Petty comes back out onto the racetrack.
You know, we talked to most of the drivers and asked if there could be a breakaway. One or two or three cars might be able to break away. Most of them said they didn't think so. Before we have seen here today, those three Chevrolets have hooked up together and have taken off. Now, Dale Jarrett pulling down there. He's going to try to hook on to those three cars. Can he do it?
Going by Hut Strickland, and now the three lead cars also pass Morgan Shepherd at car number 15.
Morgan was leading this pack of cars.
And remember, there were 12 in this group, so all three now have managed to weave their way through the traffic and lap all 12 of those machines. They come out of the traffic the same way they went in. Schrader, Earnhardt, and Sachs.
Earnhardt, as soon as he got by Morgan Shepherd, went up the racetrack in front of Morgan. He tried to hang Sachs on the bottom of the racetrack by himself. But Sachs' car strong enough, he was able to get by Morgan Shepherd on his own.
Now Ricky Rudd and Rusty Wallace are running side by side behind the lead trio.
Rudd sort of come down on the inside. Bill Elliott going by him on the outside. In fact, a train went by Ricky Rudd, still going by. He got caught down on the inside, and about 5 cars went by,
including Dick Trickle. Now Earnhardt goes to the inside of Ken Schrader as they head for turn number 1, but Schrader holds off the challenge, and now Sachs looks to the inside of Earnhardt. It has been a 3-car race most of the way, with these three, Schrader, Earnhardt, and Sachs, breaking away from the rest of the field. Now here's Earnhardt trying to pull the old patent slingshot off the backstretch. Let's see if he can take the lead from Ken Schrader. Yes, sir. And here comes Greg Sachs also on the bottom of the racetrack with help from Morgan Shepherd.
Morgan Shepherd and Hut Strickland were able to hang on to those three as they came through that pack of cars. So at least 2 of them were able to pick up and grab those 3 front cars.
The lead goes back to Dale Earnhardt with now Greg Sachs second and Ken Schrader in third. We're at Talladega Superspeedway in Alabama for the Winston 500. First time this afternoon because of a crash. It happened on lap 78. Dick Trickle, one of those involved. He comes in for a pit stop. He has hopes of staying in the race. He has some body damage on the front end of the race car. The crash occurred in the backstretch.
But there's a NASCAR official that has moved up in front of the car, and they're not going to let him go out until they fix something. The official is going to make sure they fix before he can go back out.
Here is the other car involved in the crash. Bill Elliott. John Kernan is right there.
Well, Bill has shut the engine off. As you can see, just a lot of damage on the front end. In fact, tore the nose off of that car. The force tour is going to work. They'll have to work and get the tape out. They're trying to get the hood up, trying to get the sheet metal out of the way. But I'm telling you what, once he does get that back onto the track, he's not going to be able to run anywhere near up to speed.
So the big hopes of Bill Elliott have been dashed here because of a crash. Now here is a look at what happened. It was actually set up as the cars came off turn number 2, Ned.
And Greg Sachs went very high coming off of turn 2. And let's see what happens as he comes back. And you can see the car number 9 of Bill Elliott apparently got tapped back there and sent him down to the grassed area. And Dick Trickle was coming up there and rammed into him. And there they go spinning around in the grass.
You know, if Trickle hadn't been there, Bill Elliott might have went over and over and over because his car was clearly airborne and wanting to roll.
It sure was. Bill Elliott is very lucky that Trickle was right there. We'll replay it from the in-car now of Dick Trickle.
He's right behind Bill Elliott. Coming off the second corner, Elliott just loses the car.
Well, he might have touched Rob Moroso there just momentarily.
It looked like an Elliott's car pushed up the hill almost in the side of Moroso. Bill, trying to keep it off Rob Moroso, spun the car.
Now let's listen to it. Trickle trying to get the car headed in the right direction so he can pull around to the pits, which he did. Now, Rob Moroso drove his car down to just about the entrance to the pit area and stopped there. And there is Rob Moroso. Meanwhile, Trickle goes behind the wall. Jerry Punch is in Dale Earnhardt's pit.
Lead car taking advantage of this caution flag and get a change of tires. It'll be a 4-tire change for the Good Red Chevrolet. Likewise, the Kodiak car of Kenny Schrader. A break for Schrader somewhat. His car was really loose, and I'm told that when Earnhardt went by a minute ago, Schrader had backed off. Schrader on the bottom of your screen as his Kodiak crew now changing left side tires. Likewise, the Earnhardt on the top of your screen. The Goodrich crew now drop Earnhardt's car, pushing down pit road. Now the Kodiak crew push Schrader just by the back of Ernie Irvin. All of them really scampering down along the road, coming out of one car up to 4-tire changes and rushing back toward turn 1.
Mass exit from the pit area.
Ricky Rudd was forced out into the grass up at the top end of pit road as he was exiting. Someone pulled out in front of him and caused Rudd to go out in the grass.
Pit stops being finished now. Here comes Darrell Waltrip out of the pits. And so we are under our third caution period of the afternoon, and it is because of an accident involving Bill Elliott, Dick Trickle, and Rob Moroso. We'll take a break and be back with more from Talladega. Superspeedway is NASCAR's most competitive track, and the early stages of the Winston 500 in 1989 proved it. It marked the debut of the new Chevy Lumina with Dale Earnhardt and Ken Schrader taking them to the front. Davey Allison in a Ford grabbed the bonus for leading at the halfway point, but the rest of the pack played follow the leader and wouldn't fall for Davey's fake dive down pit road. Larry Pearson triggered a multi-car tangle. Derek Cope, making his debut in Bob Whitcomb's car, took the brunt of the crash. Others became involved. Hut Strickland took a ride over the hood of Richard Petty's car. There were no injuries. There's a 3-car shootout for the checker with Alabama's own Allison grabbing the first win of 1989 for the Ford Thunderbird. Well, the Thunderbird won here last year, but it's been Chevrolet Lumina that has dominated this race so far here this afternoon as the caution light remains out here at Talladega Superspeedway. Crash back in the backstretch involving Dick Trickle and Bill Elliott and Rob Moroso, and here it is once again.
I had mentioned that Greg Sachs had gone high. I don't think that had anything to do with what happened behind them.
You see Bill Elliott. Rob Moroso hits the wall with the right side of the car, and Elliott high off the ground. I've noticed before that Rob Moroso hit the wall about the same time that Elliott got in the side of it.
And a real time now from inside Dick Trickle's car. John Kernan is with Dick Trickle.
The work continues on the Phillips 66 car here in the garage area. Dick, what happened out there?
Well, you know, I was stuck in that draft with a bunch of the cars in the mid-pack, and Elliott went to the bottom. I thought it'd be a good chance to maybe get up past that pack and get up front there. He lost it right in front of me coming off 2 and, you know, got crossed up, and I couldn't miss him, took me with him. But, you know, the old Top Arctic 1260 Pontiac was working really good, driving perfect, and we could run as fast as anybody we were with, but only that fast. And, you know, the boys at Pixley trying to get it back out, busted the radiator out, I guess, so we'll be back out, finish the race off the points.
But you're okay.
I'm fine. You know, I wish the car was as good as I am.
Nothing but the pride heard here as far as Dick Trickle's concerned. Now let's go to Jerry Punch on pit road.
A couple of developments in the pits while you were out back in the garage area, John. Darrell Waltrip has been back on pit road, apparently complaining to the crew that it feels like the left front tire is trying to come up off the ground in the back straightaway. So they brought him back down pit road and are going to make some adjustments in the chassis here. Also a break for Mark Martin. During his routine pit stop under the yellow, they took the left front tire off and saw that the Carter key had come out of the brake pads and the caliper in the left front of the car. They replaced it. Just happened to see the pad dangling there. Replaced it and put it, fixed the brakes there. So a break for Mark Martin. A couple of guys maybe getting a little luck here under yellow.
We are about to come off the yellow and go back racing once again. Again, we remind you, you can register to win a Pontiac Grand Prix by dialing 1-900-246-0101. The right guard halfway challenge, 95 cents a call. If you are called back and if you know who led at the halfway point, you can win a Pontiac Grand Prix. On lap number 84, we are 10 laps away from the halfway point. It is Dale Earnhardt and Ken Schrader leading the Winston 500 and a big traffic jam behind them.
Something's wrong with Harry Gant's car. He's not up to speed. That's the car on the outside going slow. The green and white cars, all the cars go by. Harry, let the cars go by. He was up 4th or 5th just a moment ago.
They were running in 4th place on the restart here.
Oh, look at the cars just fly by him. Harry will take the car to the low side of the racetrack.
He was one of only 9 drivers that are in the lead lap.
Here comes Greg Sachs once again in that yellow and white number 18 car. He is 3rd, trying to close in on the front 2.
The yellow car, Ernie Irvin, is 4th in this field. The 15 car that Sachs is following now is a lap down.
Let's take a look at Greg Sachs' Big A Auto Parts pit stop performance. It took him 20.2 seconds to slow down and speed up. The crew, it took 30.8 seconds, so a relatively slow stop for Greg Sachs, a total time of 51 seconds.
That's what John Kernan was talking about at the beginning of the show. Pit crew, they can win the race here today. There's no doubt about it. A good pit stop will win the race.
He lost a spot, though, came in 3rd and left the pits in 4th position, but he is back up to 3rd now, and he is about to go to 2nd. Ken Schrader loses 2nd position. Sachs goes to 2nd place right behind Earnhardt now.
And Morgan Shepherd trying to take advantage of all of that and get back in the lead lap, but he couldn't quite make the pass.
Can you guys believe Greg Sachs?
No.
How hard stopped after that move.
It's co-owned, as Benny said, by Rick Hendrick and Paul Newman. John Kernan is with Andy Petrie.
Andy, a problem on Harry Gant's car, wasn't it?
Well, he said on the restart there he missed 3rd gear, and it just, at first he thought it blew the power steering valve. He came back on the radio and said he must have blown in. So it's going to be the end of the day for you guys.
It's going to be the end of the day for you guys.
Yeah, it looks like it. You know, we'll go down and look at it, but it sounds like it's going to be over.
Disappointment here in the Harry Gant pit.
Gant will retire from competition after running as high as 3rd position. Still the same 3 up front, Earnhardt, Sachs, and Schrader.
You know, they talk about Greg Sachs. When he follows Earnhardt, he has to almost run wide open behind Dale Earnhardt. And that's what Harry Gant was trying to do. Shift as fast as he possibly could to keep up with those guys. And he just missed a little bit and overwhelmed the engine.
7 laps to the halfway point. We're on lap 87. The halfway point is 94. There's the 4th place car, Ernie Irvin, and he has had a strong run here this afternoon.
And Oldsmobile has run good.
Behind him,
lead draft to Danny, I think back on out Terry Labonte right behind him.
Terry Labonte has had a very good run in that Skoal Classic Oldsmobile as well this afternoon. He's currently running 5th.
Yeah, both of them had lost the draft of the front-running cars, but they were running a good race back there in the draft that they were in. Now they're closer to the front. We'll see if they are able to stay up.
And Michael Waltrip is also in the lead lap. He is in 6th position. And 7th is Sterling Marlin. 8th is Mark Martin, and those cars are the only ones on the lead lap. There they are. Waltrip, Marlin, and Mark Martin in the Folgers Ford.
You know, last week, Bob, when you gave the lineup, you said Mark Martin was driving the Strohs-like Ford.
And the week before that, I said he was in the Folgers Chevy.
You know, and today, you know who Alan Kawicki's sponsor is?
Sure, it's Z-Rex.
Well, how come you said Xerox?
Oh, just to see if you were listening.
I was listening.
inside of Earnhardt.
Dale Earnhardt's listening. And I believe he was.
These guys are hooking up and just driving away once again.
You've got still time to register for the halfway challenge. It's 1-900-246-0101, 95 cents a call. We'll let you know who leads at the halfway point if the computer selects you and calls you back, and you know you win a Pontiac Grand Prix.
You know, I talked about at the beginning of the show how Bill Elliott, how disastrous his year had been. You know, this is another bitter disappointment for Bill because he's involved in a crash, and he's certainly not going to win the race from the pole.
Bernie Irvin is catching up, and there is Bill Elliott with damage to the front end of the race car after a crash on the backstretch that also involved Dick Trickle and Rob Moroso.
And there's Moroso very slow on the inside going, looks like, toward the pits.
Boy, talk about taking the aerodynamics away. It's been taken away from Bill Elliott's car. See the hood just bow down there in the front. A lot of pressure on the front of that car.
That thing can't slip through the wind very fast with it in that configuration.
No, and it's not going to drive very well either.
Sachs would like to pick up $10,000. We have neglected to mention the fact that the driver who leads the halfway point does get $10,000. We talked about you being able to win a Pontiac Grand Prix, but the guy who leads also picks up 10 grand, and I'm sure Greg Sachs is thinking about that because in just 3 more circuits, it'll be a halfway.
Now, Greg Sachs is not thinking about it, but believe me, Gary Dehart or Rick Henry I is on the radio reminding him of it.
91 laps down. Let's go to Jerry Punch, who's with Rick Hendrick.
This has to be nerve-wracking. This guy owns a car that Ken Schrader is driving, and co-owns a car with Greg Sachs. Now, are you going to make it?
Hey, Doc, have you got any value? This is tough. Where's Newman? He was supposed to be here today.
I guess Paul Newman is watching us on ESPN today. Now, one of these guys said, you're listening to both Schrader and Sachs on the radio.
Well, Sachs just told him he's going to collect the money, and then Jimmy Richard said something to Kenny, and Kenny said, well, I'm open for suggestions. So it's tough sitting here listening to both of them running this fast, knowing if they touch, it's going to be a bad deal.
You've got to be impressed with Greg Sachs. A great performance today.
This is a great effort from this team. They worked hard. They ran second in the clash with this car, and they wanted to show everybody what they could do, and I'm real proud of it. This is a heck of an effort for them.
2 laps to $10,000 for the right guard halfway challenge. 1 car owner standing here, Paul Newman at home watching on ESPN, pulling for his driver, Greg Sachs.
Well, Paul Newman is either at home watching on ESPN or he's at Indianapolis, where, of course, he's fairly highly involved in IndyCar racing with the Newman-Haas racing team involving Michael and Mario Andretti. But now, as the cars come off the 4th turn banking and head toward that stripe again, it'll be 1 more lap to the halfway point and $10,000 to the leader of the race. 1 to go.
Now, this is the time to check out, see if this was the last lap and you were going for the win of the race. How do you do it? Did you stay out front? Well, Dale Earnhardt has no choice. And Greg Sachs figured his strategy out. Maybe already has it figured out.
Let's see if he goes for the slingshot at the end of the backstretch, or if these cars are able to do so. Schrader drops back just a little.
Yeah, I would think that Schrader would be right on the back bumper of Sachs, but Earnhardt must be wanting that $10,000 too. He's just driving away. Still have the trial to go. Earnhardt ducks that on the inside.
Well, Schrader. Sachs is going to challenge to the outside, perhaps. Here they come through the triangle. Now Sachs moves in behind Earnhardt. Tries one final time. Doesn't do it. Dale Earnhardt was your leader at the halfway point.
He might have waited a little too late, Bob.
Yep, I think he did. May have been able to have gotten him if he had started a little early, but he waited a little too late. Dale Earnhardt is the driver you need to know if you are called back by the halfway challenge, people. And now Sachs stands a chance of losing second spot, and Schrader moves alongside.
That wasn't very smart, those two guys running side by side, and Schrader figured that out and let Greg Sachs pull back in front of him.
They continue continue to run in the same order. It's Earnhardt, Sachs, and Schrader at Talladega Superspeedway. The big Q is One Tough Motor Oil.
A couple of years ago, NASCAR legislated the use of the restrictor plate at racetracks like Talladega and Daytona. The purpose was to slow speeds. But what this plate does is restrict airflow into the intake of the engine, thus lowering horsepower and subsequently lowering the overall speed. A lot of crews tried to overcome this plate by increasing the cowl pressure or increasing airflow through these small holes, hoping by speeding up the air, you could get back the horsepower you lost. Well, they've learned with literally hundreds of hours of work and hundreds of thousands of dollars with this dynamometer here in the shops that you really don't want to speed up the airflow. Actually, you want to slow it down. So they built inserts that go underneath the plates to actually slow the air even more and direct the air, making the engine more efficient. Much like a race driver would find on a road course after going to school, he learns that sometimes you must slow down to go faster. This dynamometer has taught the crew chiefs and engine builders the same thing about restrictor plate horsepower.
I think the jury is still out on whether restrictor plate racing is good or not, but certainly we have seen some great competition here this afternoon. These three guys especially. And as you can see, Greg Sachs, the number 18 car, has moved back into the lead, passing Dale Earnhardt. The average speed of the race at the halfway point, 163.484 miles an hour. The fastest race here at Talladega was in 1985 when Bill Elliott averaged 186.288. The fastest lap of the race so far was number 87 when Dale Earnhardt cranked a lap at 199.189, almost qualification speed. So they're first, second, and third. Fourth position is Ernie Irvan. And in fifth is Terry Labonte. Then sixth is Michael Waltrip. These guys are racing for position. Sterling Marlin also, and Mark Martin. So 5 cars there are running for position. There is Ernie Irvan. And in fifth position is Terry Labonte with a great run. Here's John Kernan.
I'm with Richard Jackson, Terry's crew chief. And Richard, you got to be pleased with the way the car is running right now.
Yes, we're real happy with the run right now. We had a bad qualifying effort. Started 31st. It's been a good effort on Terry's part to come up to 5th. We're real happy with it.
It's going to be tough to catch those Chevrolets, though, don't you think?
There's 3 Chevrolets up front. We won't catch, I don't think.
But you're not giving up, though.
Oh, we're not giving up, but they're running awful good.
There you have it. Richard Jackson says those 3 Chevrolets running up front are going to be very, very tough to catch. And, hey, that's the way it looks from down here on pit road.
There's the serial on Terry Labonte. Started 31st, moved to 12th, 9th at the end of 101 laps is 5th. And he went to the low side of Ernie Irvan there in the first and second turns. And I thought maybe he and Michael Waltrip were going to mount a challenge, but it didn't happen.
They're running about a little over 6 seconds behind the 3 front cars.
You know, folks, the voice you just heard is Ned Jarrett. And I got to let you know that this Thursday in Raleigh, North Carolina, our Ned Jarrett is going to be inducted into the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame. Ned, congratulations.
Our hats off to Ned Jarrett.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm very flattered and honored to have been chosen to go into the Hall of Fame. You know, there are only 3 other motorsports people in the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame. And they are Junior Johnson, Richard, and Lee Petty. So, I'm happy to be among that group.
You joined some good company there, that's for sure. Hey, here's a battle for position as Mark Martin has gone to the inside and passed Sterling Martin. So, Mark Martin goes to 7th, and Marlin is 8th.
And there again, we saw Sterling Marlin did not contest that pass by Mark Martin that much because he realized if they started running side by side, this group of cars would simply drive away from them.
King Richard Petty, there he is, trailing this group of cars, but certainly is a legend in stock car racing. And you know, when you come here to Talladega, there are many, many things to see. This is a great portion of the country, for one thing. And secondly, there's a lot to see when you come here to the racetrack itself. Not only this tremendous super speedway, but also a very fine museum nearby.
You know, there's lots of things to see here at the International Motorsports Hall of Fame. Race cars, all kinds of cars, world-famous cars. And Ned, July 25th, going to be a big day here.
Yes, it is. They will induct the original 20 people into the International Motorsports Hall of Fame. And these will be people that have been involved in the growth of motorsports forever, Benny. And they will come from all over the world and will have been involved in every form of motorsports.
And that's going to be live on TV for 2 hours that night. You know, for years, the featured crash at the International Motorsports Hall of Fame has been Phil Parsons' Pontiac that he crashed in the Winston 500 in 1983. And Ned, there's just nothing left, is there?
No, there really isn't. And Benny, you were driving in that race that day. How did it feel? You come around and see your brother's car in this kind of condition.
That is the worst day I've ever had at racing in my life. I was screaming on the radio to the crew, get me a relief driver so I can go tend to Phil's needs, because I knew he was going to have a lot of needs. But fortunately, he only had a broken shoulder blade. They assured me that he was okay, and I finished the race.
Well, now there's a new attraction here at the International Motorsports Hall of Fame.
Now, this is a featured attraction at the International Motorsports Hall of Fame. The car Michael Waltrip crashed at Bristol about a month ago. Man, unbelievable. You ever seen like this?
No, I haven't, Benny. And the man walked away from it and then drove in a 500-lap race at Bristol the very next day after that. You know, they just brought this car here this week, and Michael had to come by and take a look at it.
Now, look at this thing. Now, let's just step back and look. See, the seat's going one way. The steering wheel's going another way. How did you... pretty tough to drive that way, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe that's why I wrecked. I couldn't reach the steering wheel. It's going in the wrong direction. But, you know, my seat stayed secured in the frame rail, in the only frame rail, really, that stayed as a part of the back of the car. This part came up, went that way, and the back went this way. And, you know, you can look at it however you want. The car was built the way it was supposed to, but they're not supposed to rip apart like that when they crash. And that was just a violent crash. And, you know, I just thank the Lord every night I go to bed that I'm alive and able to continue racing.
Ned, your son Dale, a promising Winston Cup driver. My son Kevin is trying to get a racing career started. Isn't it great to know that drivers walk away from accidents like these?
I guess, Benny, that's one reason that we allow them to go out there on the racetrack and run at the speeds that they do when we see drivers walk away from this kind of a thing. But, you know, this is not the only thing that is on display here at the International Motorsports Hall of Fame. There are hundreds of items for you to see, and if you get an opportunity, you should come by.
And wouldn't you know it, this race had settled down to the point where we thought we could show you that without any major loss. However, we have had a crash while we were watching that piece from the museum. The crash occurred on lap number 105, and the car sitting toward the outside of the wall is Dale Jarrett in car number 21. The number 27 car of Rusty Wallace also involved in the crash. He is in the pits. Phil Parsons was also involved in the crash. I believe that he drove his car behind the wall. I'm not certain of that, but I believe so. So they're trying to change the tires on the Rusty Wallace car and get the sheet metal pulled out so that Rusty can continue in the race. We will take a look at it now from Alan Kowicki's in-car.
Looks like someone blew an engine up there. There's a lot of smoke right in front of Dale Jarrett's car, and of course Alan Kowicki can't see anything. There's Darrell Waltrip as Alan spins around and heads down to the inside.
Buddy Baker went by spinning on the inside, and
now we'll look at it in real time and listen.
Ed, I believe there was contact between two cars up there.
Yeah, it looked like there might have been right in front of Dale Jarrett. And
Ricky
Rudd involved. I think Jeff Bodine was involved in it.
So by far the race's most serious crash coming here just past the 100 lap mark.
The crew moving very slowly away from Rudd's car. That means...
And we have another angle from another in-car that perhaps can give us a better idea of what exactly happened.
Bill Elliott's car looks like he hits the Mickey Gibbs. Is that Mickey the black
or Rusty?
Or Rusty?
Yeah.
Boy, once they start spinning and that smoke comes up, you know, the drivers can't see where they're going. There's just so much smoke there.
Strickland and Rusty Wallace.
Exactly. I said Bill Elliott, but that was Hud Strickland and Rusty Wallace, wasn't it, that got together and started the accident?
Two guys that drove through it. Alan Kulwicki, who seems rather relaxed, and also Dick Trickle, who is having a cigarette. You know, he has a cigarette lighter in the car. He just reached for it.
Reminds us of the days of Davy Pearson. He used to do that all the time.
Bad habits are very hard to break, even when you're driving a race car. So Ricky Rudd, also Bobby Hillen, Rusty Wallace, the 21 car of Dale Jarrett, Buddy Baker, Alan Kulwicki, and Dave Marcus were involved in that crash. .107 out of 188 laps completed. It's Greg Sachs, Dale Earnhardt, Ken Schrader, Terry Labonte, and Michael Waltrip. In sixth is Ernie Irvin, followed by Mark Martin, Sterling Marlin, Morgan Shepherd, and Kyle Petty. By the way, pit road is still closed while they're cleaning up this crash. Let's take a look at it from Dick Trickle's in-car camera. What happened just ahead of him?
Just in front of Dale Jarrett, we're going to see contact between Hud Strickland and the Rusty Wallace automobile. And when Dick Trickle drives in, there's nothing but smoke. We see Buddy Baker spin the car around. All of a sudden, nothing. He can't see anything at all. Now, pit road is open, and all the cars head for pit road.
Jerry is in Dale Earnhardt's pit.
As expected, it'll be a 4-tire change for the Goodrich crew. They're going to work on the right side of the car. Kirk Shelmerdine taking the right front tire off. 18 on the top of your screen, that's the Greg Sachs car. You're seeing Dale Earnhardt's crew working on the bottom of your screen. Left side on the 18 car, Gary Dehart and the rest of the Slim Fast crew working on the left side of that Chevrolet. Meanwhile, the Goodrich crew now putting left side tires on the Earnhardt car. Earnhardt's car off the jack, he is out of the way. Everyone on pit road. Sachs still on pit road. Schrader moving down pit road. Now Greg Sachs crew getting their tire change completed. Let's go up pit road to John Kernan, who's standing by with Phil Parsons.
Thank you, Jerry. Phil, what happened? What did you see?
I really don't know. I was in a long line of traffic. Nobody would stay in line. I mean, you know, we run faster when you stay in line. Nobody would stay in line. And first thing I saw was Rusty Wallace sideways. So I don't know if he tried to pass somebody and then tried to get back in line and didn't make it, or somebody else tried to pass and he hit him. I really don't know what happened. First thing I saw was Rusty Wallace sideways, but I don't know why the guys were trying to pass anyway. We weren't going to go any faster running 2x2 and side by side. But you know, I saw it start, but then when I got there, there's 2-3 cars sideways in front of me. I know Dale Jarrett was in front of me, and Rusty Wallace was sideways in front of me, and I hit, I think, Dale Jarrett. I didn't feel like real hard, and then somebody drilled me from behind. So we're out for the day. I just like to thank Bill Bartolf for letting me drive the car, and I hate we tore it up. It really was senseless. I don't know why those guys were racing, but I guess they were.
There you have it from the very disappointed Phil Parsons. Benny says to tell you that he is A-OK.
All right. Well, we had a catch can come from one of the cars and bounce into the grassy area. Looks like it came off of, who is it?
Terry Labonte's car.
Terry. And it landed in the grassy area in the tri-oval. So the pack is being reformed. A few cars still on pit road as we are under caution from a crash here at Talladega. Here at Talladega, because of an incident involving several cars just off of turn number 4. Everybody, however, is apparently okay. Dale Jarrett and Phil Parsons among those involved, but they are okay. So while we are under caution, we'll take another break and be right back with more action from the Winston 500. Our Speed World mentioned that Phil Parsons and Dale Jarrett among those involved in that crash. We talked to Phil. Here's John with Dale.
Well, Dale, from the looks of your car, you took a pretty good lick out there.
Yeah, a couple pretty good ones, I think. It's a shame the Sitco Ford was really running good. I messed up on the first pit stop under the green and choked the car down going out of pit road, and that got us out of the group that we were in. We were really running strong there at the first, and we had a really good car, and you know, we were just kind of sitting there riding, and the 12 car hit the 27 and turned him right in front of me, and you know, running 190 some miles an hour. You got one chance, and I tried to go to the outside, and I guess Rusty clipped me, and then I don't know who else hit me, but got hit a lot of times.
You're okay? A little sore, maybe?
I'm fine, yeah. I tell Kelly and Jason and Natalie, everyone back home, I'm doing fine. No problems. I just hate it because we had a really good race car today, and I think you're going to see a lot more from this Sitco team.
Thank you, Dale. Dale Jarrett, okay. Let's go back up to Bob Jenkins.
All right, and we are about to go green once again. The pace car pulls into the pit area, and Dale Earnhardt will lead him down for the restart. It's Earnhardt, Schrader, Mark Martin, Terry Labonte, and Greg Sachs as they take the green flag to resume the Winston 500. Green flag will come out on lap number 112.
John Kernan hit the nail on the head when he talked about pit stops at the beginning of the show, because Greg Sachs had a fairly poor pit stop, was leading the race, went back to 5th.
He has had fairly poor pit stops all afternoon, not quite as good as some of the other teams, but his performance on the racetrack makes up for that. As you can see, he has passed Terry Labonte, and Sachs has moved to 4th already, and now 3 abreast racing behind the lead group. That is, once again, Hut Strickland and Morgan Shepherd and Kyle Petty, as they now move down into a 2 abreast situation through the 3rd and 4th turns. First 4 cars have pulled away from Terry Labonte.
They pull the 4th Thunderbird in there to break up the Chevrolet dominance. 3 Chevrolet Luminas and the 1 lone Ford T-Bird, driven by Mark Martin.
Let's take a look at a Big A Auto Parts pit stop performance on Greg Sachs. Another long pit stop. As you can see, the driver time wasn't bad, 17.8, but the crew took almost 30 seconds to change the tires and fuel the car. But look at Sachs move up. Sachs goes to 2nd position. Oh, Earnhardt just a little bit sideways as Schrader now has the lead. Sachs is 2nd, Earnhardt is back to 3rd, and Mark Martin is 4th. Now, Kyle Petty in car number 42 is 1 lap down, not on the lead lap.
He is running in the 9th position at the moment. Still 8 cars on the lead lap.
Now Sachs looking for the lead.
Earnhardt went down and touched the apron with the left side. That time, we saw Greg Sachs do it earlier in the race, upset his car, but Earnhardt just rode through the apron of the racetrack like it was the road. Sachs looks inside Schrader, tries to take the lead away. Here comes Labonte on the inside of Kyle Petty, Michael Waltrip, and Ernie Irvin. So all of a sudden, we've got 7 cars in the lead lap, bumper to bumper.
Looks like there's a pretty significant bump down there off the 4th corner.
There is a bump. It's worse low than it is high. Oh, Ernie was not able to make the pass. Has to fall in behind Kyle Petty, but here goes Sachs on the inside down in turn 1.
He's side by side with Schrader and pulls ahead. Sachs goes to the front again. Here comes Earnhardt to 2nd, and Schrader falls back to 3rd. Greg Sachs has only won once in Winston Cup competition. That was back in 1985 in what had to be considered one of the most surprising victories of all time, when he drove a Dygaard experimental car, crew chief by Gary Nelson, to victory in the Pepsi Firecracker 400. He has a very good chance of winning this afternoon if his car can keep performing the way it has so far.
You would think we get to the point of the race, it would be Earnhardt's kind of racetrack, but Greg Sachs looks like he could do fairly well.
Now Ernie Irvin and Sterling Marlin and Michael Waltrip have all caught up with the lead draft, and all of a sudden we have an 8-car battle here.
Yes, this is the first time that we've seen the 8 cars that are in the lead lap running together.
Cars are right together, led by Sachs.
You know, we talked about Earnhardt just a moment ago. As we're past halfway, it's fairly warm, it's a sunlit day. You would think that Earnhardt would like this kind of racetrack, because he doesn't qualify that good, but on a hot, slick racetrack, Earnhardt is one of the best. Why do you like a slick track?
Well, it just seemed to be more consistent on a hot, slick track more than the other drivers. If it gets slick, they're backing off the throttle, and we're not. So, and I like it hot, and the tougher it is, the better it is for me. You know, it makes it tough on everybody else, driver-wise and car-wise.
Well, Earnhardt currently running in 2nd position. It's not all that hot here this afternoon. It, in fact, has been unseasonably cool down here in Alabama, but nevertheless, it's about as warm as it has been all weekend, and the track temperature is coming up.
You were down here Wednesday, Thursday. It was hot.
Was it?
Talladega then, yes, up about 93 degrees.
There you can see Earnhardt's finishes in 1989 here at Talladega, an 8th and an 11th.
Boy, he's running right on the bottom of the racetrack. Did this car wiggle a little bit, or is my eyes playing tricks on me? It looked like this car wiggled a little bit in the middle of the corner.
I think it did a couple of laps ago, too. The numbered 71 car of Dave Marcus has been very competitive all afternoon. There he is on the far left of your screen, running alongside Hut Strickland and Alan Kulwicki. But the 71 car of Dave Marcus is in 14th and only a lap down. He's been as high as, I believe, 9th.
Big Apple Market Chevrolet. Dave has had some good runs. The last 4 or 5 races he has been running very good.
As a matter of fact, he's a former winner on this racetrack. Back in 1976, Dave Marcus visited Victory Lane here at Talladega.
Following Alan Kulwicki. See that AEL on the hood? That has been on his car for quite a while as well.
But Dave Marcus at the moment is in 14th position here at Talladega. We'll be back with more of our live coverage in a moment from the Winston 500. Talladega, where the yellow flag has just been displayed once again on the 122nd lap. Cars are coming by to take the yellow flag. The incident involved Phil Barkdahl in car number 73.
Right front tire is flat on that car, so whether they cut a tire down, it caused him to get into the wall, but you can see it has been scraped into the wall a little bit.
We have the tail end of the incident on videotape.
Well, we see the smoke on the left side of the screen as Barkdahl is up against the wall. He brings it back down off the wall.
So no serious incident there involving Phil Barkdahl. However, it did bring out our 5th caution flag of the afternoon. The field will be reassembling behind the pace car. We'll be back in just a moment. Here's Ned Jarrett, Benny Parsons, John Kernan, and Dr. Jerry Punch back at Talladega Superspeedway, where the caution flag is out again. The field is just now being picked up by the pace car, so the pits are closed at the moment. Don't know how many pit stops we will see. Probably those running up front will come in once again. While we have the opportunity, let's review some of the other winners. Chuck Bound won at South Boston last night in Busch Grand National competition. Jeff Burton was 2nd. Steve Grissom 3rd. Jimmy Hensley 4th. Rick Mast 5th. Hensley and Labonte are tied for the lead in Winston, or rather Grand National points. Chuck Bound, who wins his 2nd race in a row, is 5th. One of the best races I have ever seen in my life. I've seen a few of them, was run here at Talladega yesterday in the IROC race, which was won by Dale Earnhardt, and an outstanding performance by Martin Brundle, who was the Formula One representative, the road racing representative invited by IROC. And those Dodge Daytonas just put on an unbelievable show. Martin Brundle finished 5th, but was very, very good. Did you like that race? You saw it.
I thought it was a fantastic race. Probably the best IROC race I've ever seen. Chuck Bound is 5 points behind. He didn't finish 5th in the race. Oh, okay. He's 5 points. Jiggins,
did I say that?
I got to do something about you.
Oh, I tell you, why don't you fire me?
No.
Down at the Nescafe Pontiac has really come on strong in the Busch Series here. And pit road, let's see. It'll be open this time around. Will they make a pit stop?
If they do, let's see how the 18, his pit stop compares to, well, we'll pick Dale Earnhardt because his crew is world championship caliber. Let's see how he can, are they going to pit? Let's see.
Well,
I'm
they're
not
trying
sure
to
they
fake each other out. I don't believe they're going to.
Ah!
Well, yeah, boy, they went to the last minute.
Let's go to Jerry Punch, who's in Earnhardt's pit.
Should be very interesting. Dale Earnhardt and, of course, the slim fast car of Greg Sachs. Sachs will be at the top of your screen in his big Chevrolet Lumina. A lot of experience in the Greg Sachs team. Gary Dehart, Dennis Conner, of course, former crew chief for Tim Richmond a couple of years ago. Richmond was so successful, they will change 4 tires. Likewise, the Earnhardt came down, running around the left side of their car. David Smith carrying a jack, putting beneath the left side of the Goodrich Chevrolet. Now left side of the 18th car, Gary Dehart's crew, the slim fast crew, now really pumping that jack, putting those left side tires on. Earnhardt's car already off the jack. Sachs crew trying to get the lug nuts on. He's still in the pits here. They're adding fuel to the car. Finally, now Greg Sachs car off the jack, and he will make his way down pit road, but he loses about 6 seconds to Dale Earnhardt.
just a huge difference between the pit stops there by Earnhardt and Sachs.
Yeah, Earnhardt's crew had his car, the 4 tires almost changed by the time they went around to the left side of Sachs' car.
Well, there's an interesting piece of head attire, a Bill Elliott hat, and I think you know what's coming up. Every week, Benny has a special feature here on ESPN shows, the Hat of the Week, and here's this week's edition.
When Gerald Ehrenberg, who's the executive director of the American Police Hall of Fame and Museum in Miami, Florida, let me know they're going to dedicate the museum this weekend, and folks, May 15th is Police Memorial Day, I decided to exhibit some of the police hats I received this year. First of all, Trooper Myers, the Tennessee State Trooper, sent in that hat. Detective John Gibson of the Los Angeles Police Department sent in this hat. And Officer Jerry Huss of the Huntington Beach Police Department sent in this hat. He also sent in the Cop Bowl hat. The Orange County Police and the Sheriff's Department has a football game each year trying to raise some money from charity. Also, we got to mention the Alabama State Trooper hat worn by Officer Andrew Johnson. Andrew says we can't have that hat. We got to take him with him, and folks, he eats too much. We don't want Andrew to go along with the deal. The hats are going to Germantown, New York. June the 1st, Germantown Central School. They're going to have an auction trying to raise some money to buy a new ambulance for the Southern Columbia County Rescue Squad. Also, next Sunday, May 13th, the American Legion Post 206 is having a Racing Fans Appreciation Day in High Point, North Carolina, American Legion Post 206. So go by and see the hats in High Point and Germantown, New York.
If I were you, I wouldn't exceed the speed limit on the way back to the hotel tonight and take a chance on getting picked up by the Alabama State Police. The Hat of the Week, 112 South Main Street in Ellerbe, North Carolina. While we were concentrating on the Earnhardt and Sachs pit stop, look at those who beat those 2 cars out. Here comes Mark Martin, Ernie Irvan, Michael Waltrip, and Sterling Marlin. All 4 of those cars got out before Earnhardt and Sachs, and so they are the ones that will come down and lead the field to a restart of the Winston 500.
Ken Schrader beat them out as well because he is 5th. Earnhardt now 6th. Greg Sachs 7th on the restart.
Evidently, they only took on 2 tires to make that quick pit stop because Earnhardt had a very good pit stop. Green flag waiting.
The only other car on the lead lap in 8th position is Terry Labonte. Lap 127. Here we go back to green. 8 cars on the lead lap. Mark Martin in the Folgers Ford leads them into turn 1. Now that's Chad Little in number 19 to the inside of Mark.
Chad's scheduled to run most of the races the rest of the season. He has only run a limited schedule up to this point, but the Bullseye Barbecue sauce people came through a little bit back, so run more races.
Look at how close that draft is. Michael Waltrip right behind Mark Martin. Here's Mark Martin's pit stop performance by Big A Auto Parts. 18.1 on the driver. Look at this, 6.4 on the crew. Obviously, either 2 tires or probably no tires at all, just gas. 24.5 seconds. Ernie Irvan moves to 2nd. Here comes Sterling Marlin.
Well, the fans might wonder, why did they not change tires? Well, they had just put on tires about 11 or 12 laps ago. But maybe it's going to cost him. Ernie Irvan moves right around on the inside, so does Sterling Marlin.
Here comes Greg Sachs hooked up with Dale Earnhardt on the bottom of the racetrack. It's Irvan leading, Marlin 2nd, then Schrader, then Earnhardt, Martin, and Greg Sachs.
Sterling Marlin looks on the inside. He's trying to get by Ernie Irvan. I don't think he's going to be able to make the pass. Meanwhile, Schrader goes by on the outside. Here comes Sterling on the inside.
Yeah, Sterling thought Schrader was going to follow him through and maybe give him a little bit of a push, but he makes the pass anyway.
Let's see. I don't know.
For the moment, he does. Now, he has no help down there. Everybody's going to go by on the outside.
Ernie Irvan will lead this lap. Ooh, boy, Schrader really got up high. Picked up some dust up on the wall. Schrader is 2nd. Marlin and Earnhardt run side by side for 3rd, then Greg Sachs, then Mark Martin, and then Michael Waltrip. Marlin caught down on the low side.
And cannot find a hole to get in.
There he does. Meanwhile, Earnhardt and Greg Sachs are going to go low. And see you later, Ernie Irvan. Earnhardt goes to the lead. Now, Ken Schrader will drop down to the low side of the track. They'll fall in line. Ernie Irvan Irvin will try to get back in line, which he does in third.
Those three Chevrolets have just been unbelievable here this afternoon. Earnhardt, Greg Sachs, and Ken Schrader. Ernie Irvin there now did slip back in line there in third place. Now let's see if he can keep up with them in that position, since he has them broken up just a little bit.
Dropping back now to this second group of cars led by Michael Waltrip. And there is Terry Labonte, who is in 8th position, the last car on the lead lap, as he races alongside Dave Marcus, who was 12th. Let's go to John Kernan with the report on Terry Labonte.
Well, it's kind of amazing that he's able to hang in there right now, because Labonte is running on 7 cylinders. Richard Jackson says he thinks that they've broken a rocker arm, and Terry is going to stay out there and try and gain as many laps as he can and pick up some valuable Winston Cup points.
Hanging right in there with this group of cars, running with Dave Marcus and Chad Little.
That is quite amazing, on 7 cylinders, able to run as well as he is.
And back up front, Ernie Irvin trying to make a move on the inside of Greg Sachs. He's going to need the help of Ken Schrader, and he might get it. Well, Schrader now pulls back up. He don't know which way he wants to, which car he wants to follow. He's just left Ernie down there by himself, so Ernie's going to have to just fight it out.
I think Ernie's in trouble, man.
Yeah, I think he is too. I think those 3 Chevrolets are going to drop right on by. Well, they're the 2 that he was trying to move around.
Schrader goes to third. Here comes Mark Martin in the Folgers Ford. Here comes Marlin, here comes Michael, and Ernie Irvin is hung out to dry on the low side.
Yeah, he just can't get an opening to get back in there. If he could get back around Sterling Marlin, there's enough room in there, but he can't do it. As they run side by side, the cars in front of them will be able to pull away if they aren't careful.
You know, that's just like being in the left-hand lane, the fast lane on the interstate, some slow folk in front of you, and you can't get around him. Ernie Irvin don't have any slope. The slow folk is air. He just can't break it. Look here, Sachs takes the lead.
Again, Greg Sachs shows the muscle and passes Dale Earnhardt and takes over the lead position. Greg Sachs from Mattatuck, New York, will lead as they come down and complete the 132nd lap.
You know, when Neil Bonnet announced the other day that he was not going to drive for the remainder of this year, that put Morgan Shepherd back in the Winston, which is 2 weeks from now. But if Greg Sachs wins this race today, then Morgan Shepherd's back out of the Winston, right?
Yeah,
right.
Greg just got knocked out within the last year. He had won that race, as you mentioned, at Daytona. That's kept him in the Winston for quite a while.
One of the rookie candidates for the Winston Cup Rookie of the Year title this year is Jack Pennington in car number 47. And there he is. He is doing fine here. He's running in 13th spot, a lap down.
I'll tell you, to be a dirt track driver, he is doing a great job out there. Someone told me yesterday, look for him to have a good run here today, and he is. It's good to see him up there in the top 15.
He is second in rookie points. Moroso leads, and then Pennington. Behind him is Terry Labonte, the number 1 car. He's in 8th position at the moment. And Chad Little in the 19 car follows Labonte, and tucked in behind Chad Little is the 2 car driven by Rick Mast.
That car is sponsored by Glenn Doyle's Raven Boats, the fellow who sponsored the modified race in Martinsville last week.
Let's just continue to drop back and talk about some of the other guys that are still in competition.
Well, we'll say that Chad Little is running in the 14th position. We saw him there a moment ago, so he's having a good run here today.
There is Dave Marcus, and he is 15th at the moment.
Bill Venturini from Chicago in the car 35. That's looks like a Chevrolet.
It is.
Suffered on the inside of Dave Marcus.
Suffered a serious accident a couple of years ago, and maybe some people thought his career was over, but not by any means, as Bill Venturini is very much in action here at Talladega this afternoon in the Amoco Ultimate car.
It looks like 71 is slowing down. The car of Dave Marcus, he was having a good run, but he definitely is off the pace a little bit.
Now we catch up with another group of cars. There's the king, Richard Petty. Boy, he's had trouble from the drop of actually before the green flag came out with the engine problem they discovered before the race started that changed engines in the car, and he has just not been competitive here this afternoon. Behind him is the 17 car of Darrell Waltrip.
Looks like somebody punched him in the nose.
He's running a 60.
That's Mickey Gibbs right behind Darrell Waltrip. Davey Allison in the Star Ford. He's got some problems. And Butch Miller in the Food World Chevrolet.
Butch is only a lap down. He's running in 17th place, so he's having one of his better runs of the year.
Not a bad run at all for a guy who specializes in short track racing, or at least has most of his racing career in ASA and other sanctioning bodies throughout the Midwest. Butch Miller doing a fine job here on the Talladega Superspeedway this afternoon in 17th. Dropping on back. Next is...
Let's ask Bobby Hillen. He has some damage in the Snickers Buick.
Right behind him is
Rusty Wallace.
Rusty Wallace, the defending Winston Cup champion. He was involved in that accident coming off of the fourth corner a few laps ago that also involved Dale Jarrett. And look at the damage on this car. This is Jeff Bodine in the Junior Johnson car. You talk about 200-mile-an-hour tape. He's got some.
Looks like he used 3 rows trying to patch up that automobile.
Yeah, he was involved in that fourth turn skirmish there also.
Right behind Jeff Bodine is another car that's got some pretty serious damage. We'll be able to get back to Bill Elliott, our pole sitter, who had a chance to pick up the Unical Challenge, $7,600.
They got some tape. Look at that tape. Boy, that, wow.
Well, it's better aerodynamically than it was a while ago before they put that tape on there.
It works. That's all that counts. Bill Elliott, the pole sitter here this afternoon at over 199 miles an hour. Now here is the lead pack once again, led by Greg Sachs.
We've shown you the damaged car. Now we'll show you the undamaged cars, the cars that are running very, very fast.
Let's take a look at our Western Auto mid-race recap. Leader Greg Sachs at an average speed of 154.260. We've had 10 leaders and 19 lead changes, 5 caution periods, total of 25 laps, and 8 cars on the lead lap. Dale Earnhardt, Ken Schrader, Greg Sachs, Morgan Shepherd, Darrell Waltrip have all led, including Jeff Bodine, Kyle Petty, Buddy Baker led a lap. So did Mark Martin and Ernie Irvin. Derek Cope, Rick Wilson, Lake Speed, Rob Moroso, and Harry Gant all are out of the competition. Derek Cope was the first out. So are Phil Parsons, Ricky Rudd, Dale Jarrett, Buddy Baker, and Jimmy Spencer. Several of those from that crash out of turn number 4. The Mechanic of the Year point standings going into this race show Robin Pemberton from the Mark Martin crew on top of the standings. Tim Brewer, Jeff Bodine's car second, and Jerry Nelson on Kyle Petty's car. Jeff Hammond for Darrell Waltrip fourth, and Donnie Winko, the crew chief on Morgan Shepherd's car, is fifth in the Western Auto Mechanic of the Year point standings. So it remains Greg Sachs, followed by Dale Earnhardt and Ken Schrader at the Winston 500 at Talladega Superspeedway. Talladega Superspeedway, led by Greg Sachs. Then comes Dale Earnhardt. Then Ken Schrader. Then Mark Martin. And the 5th car is Ernie Irvin in the bright yellow number 4.
Ned, you get the idea that Mark Martin and Ernie Irvin are just hanging on by their fingernails?
Yeah, I think they're having to drive their hearts out just to stay in the draft, Benny. The Chevrolets have been so strong all afternoon, but they have taken advantage of the fact that once they got up there, they're hanging on to the draft.
That car that looked like a modified that this lead pack just passed was Dick Trickle. 142 laps are completed out of 188. It has for most of the afternoon been a 3-car battle. Now here is a battle for position. Both of these cars are a lap down, but they're struggling for that 10th position. It's Hut Strickland in number 12 and Kyle Petty in 42.
Well, couldn't quite make the pass that time. He didn't have anybody to go with him.
And we saw how quickly that Kyle tried to dive behind Hut Strickland to be able to pick up that draft.
Strickland drafting on Sterling Marlin, who is in the lead lap, 6th place. again run side by side into turn 1.
Well, I'll tell you, that's pretty impressive that Kyle passes both of those cars going into the turn. Now Marlin goes high. Now Hut Strickland trying to move around him.
Marlin must be dropping back a little bit because here comes Michael Waltrip, who is in 7th position, and Michael is about to take over 6th position from Sterling Marlin. Here it is. Yes, Michael goes to 6th spot, and Sterling Marlin goes back to 7th.
I wouldn't be surprised if Sterling Marlin didn't get scared to death going in turn 1. He probably didn't expect Kyle Petty to drive under him going in the corner, and all of a sudden, nowhere seeing Kyle Petty alongside of him, he jumped out of the throttle, and look what happened, lost 4 or 5 spots.
And one thing that might be happening here, we noticed that Michael Waltrip and Sterling Marlin were some of those cars that got out of the pits early ahead of Earnhardt, those that changed tires. They probably didn't change tires, just took on gas, and those tires are getting a little worn and heated up now.
Speaking about Michael Waltrip, you know how he survived that horrifying crash at Bristol in a race car, and he almost drowned a couple of days later in Lake. Let's go to the pit area and talk with the team manager on the 94 car, Sterling Marlin.
We have Herb Huppridge here. Herb, Sterling's starting to drop back a little bit. You didn't change tires on the last pit stop. Is that the problem?
We're not certain right yet. He hasn't called in and told us anything about the car, but we pretty well gathered that that might be the problem. So we're just going to wait to get him in and see if we can't get back on up there.
So you're going to ride it out and wait till the schedule stops?
Right.
There you have it from Sterling Marlin's pit. Apparently, they would like to see a caution here, guys, because they could get in and get 4 fresh tires. They were one of the teams that did not change tires at all that last round of pit stops to pick up some track position.
And it really hasn't paid off for Sterling Marlin as he has fallen back to 7th spot. Back up front, meanwhile, it remains a 5-car draft for the lead, with 3 Chevrolet Luminas, then a Ford, and then an Oldsmobile driven by Ernie Irvan. Greg Sachs is leading in the Ultra Slim Fast Chevrolet. There are your top 5. We'll take a look at the top 10 as we pause once again for a commercial break from the Winston 500 at Talladega Superspeedway in Alabama.
A lot in just 1 lap, Bob.
Something's happened to Schrader. Ken Schrader is off the pace in that Kodiak Chevrolet. Something has happened.
Ernie Irvan is now 3rd, and Greg Sachs is 4th as Ken Schrader goes to the bottom of the racetrack and drops off the pace. A tough break for Ken Schrader, who is one of the 3 strongest cars all race long.
This is just like Daytona all over again when he had such a great run.
Now, this is how Dale Earnhardt got the lead from Greg Sachs. Schrader okay at the moment.
Yeah, Earnhardt drives down on the inside with the help of Schrader, a little bit of draft there, and then Sachs goes a little high. Schrader goes on by, so Schrader still looks okay. Here comes Mark Martin in the Ford number 6.
And now we have a battle for the lead once again as Mark Martin challenges Dale Earnhardt on the outside. He and Ernie Irvan are hooked up. And Mark Martin may have led that lap. He was about a half a car length ahead of Dale Earnhardt, but they battle side by side into turn number 1. And Sachs and Ernie Irvan are side by side for 3rd.
They don't want to stay that way too long because if Earnhardt and Mark Martin gets hooked up together, they could pull away. But now Greg Sachs has seen that could happen, so he pulls back on.
By the lead pack as he can only drive it toward the pit area.
This goes to show you how fast these cars are running. Ken Schrader was coasting for 2.5 miles. These fellas lapped him before he could get back to pit road.
There's Schrader, who has finally made it around to his pit. And they're going to raise the hood on the Kodiak Chevrolet and check it out. Jerry Punch, can you tell us what they're doing?
Well, Kenny Schrader said a moment ago he thinks the motor man come apart in the car, but And so the crew chief, Richard Broom, and Kenny Bingham, the engine builder, have run back to the garage area at the meeting back there. But Schrader has pulled the car now onto pit road. They have raised the hood. David Oliver and the rest of the Kodiak crew here looking, and now Schrader will shut the car off, and Mike Slattery and the crew will button it up, take the window net down, and apparently pull Schrader out of the car. Tough break after a great run for Kenny Schrader.
Schrader came into the race 8th in Winston Cup points. He has been in the top 10 5 times, make that 6 times in the first 8 races. 4 cars still up front, and our congratulations to Susan Persin from Williamsburg, Virginia, who won a Pontiac Grand Prix knowing that Dale Earnhardt was the leader at the halfway point in the right guard challenge.
I believe they're all pretty content to sit there and ride for a while now.
Let's go to Jerry Punch, who's with Ken Schrader.
Kenny's still sitting in the car. Kenny, you had a great run going, partner.
Something laid down on us. Thing run good all day, and it just it started losing oil pressure. Just give up.
Your buddy, your teammate Greg Sachs having a good run now. Does he think he can handle Earnhardt?
Well, Greg's a little loose right now, but Dale's a little loose too. So it's going to be tough. But Greg's running awful good.
Normally very animated Kenny Schrader. You can see he's totally dejected. He thought he had a shot and probably had the best shot of the year of winning here in Talladega. Now he'll have to go back to the garage area, climb on the truck, and pull for teammate Greg Sachs.
Places being traded up front again, Jerry. It is Earnhardt and Mark Martin, and then this battle for third as Greg Sachs wants to go around Ernie Irvan and go to third, and he does, coming off the 33-degree banking into the tri-oval. Greg Sachs goes to third.
Well, it's a good thing that Greg Sachs made that pass on Ernie Irvan, backed off to let him make that pass, because those 2 cars, I'm talking about the 3 and the 6, they could have driven away if those cars had just run side by side for about another straightaway.
Sachs' car might be a little loose, but he still has plenty of horsepower under the hood. Earnhardt moving around a little bit there, trying to break the ground. And here comes Greg Sachs again.
He's going to second and easily does so, passing Mark Martin. Sachs back to second spot. He dropped all the way back to 5th there for a moment, but he's back up to the runner-up position.
Amazing how strong that car is today.
It really is.
You know, you said Paul Newman might be an Indian. If he walked by a television and turned it on ESPN, he certainly isn't watching those Indy cars practice.
I'll bet he's watching TV. Don't go away, fans. We got a terrific finish set up for this thing if these 2 cars continue to run the way they have all race long. Mark Martin is third, and then comes Ernie Irvan, who of course took over this ride from Phil Parsons a few races after the season started. Benny asked Ernie Irvan, do you wish what you had what your good friend Dale Earnhardt has?
Well, I think I got everything he's got right now, Benny, except for that experience he's got. And, you know, we got the team and everything we need to do it with, and Dale's, you know, got a lot of experience, and he'll be the first one to tell you that you can't buy experience, and you know, he's paid a lot of price up and down the road getting his experience, and you know, hopefully these guys will stick with me. You know, we're supposed to be together an awful long time, and things hopefully will work out, and we'll stay together, and we'll be racing, and hopefully 2 years from now you'll be saying, man, is that Ernie Irvan? Don't you wish you had what he's got?
Well, Ernie has run very strong in several races since taking over this ride. His best finish of the year was a 3rd at Atlanta.
In fact, it was the best finish of his career in Winston Cup.
Let's go to Dr. Jerry Punch, who's in Greg Sachs' pit. Now, this crew hasn't been quite as fast as Dale Earnhardt's in the previous stops. Jerry?
No, they haven't been, but they've got a lot of experience. Just because they're a new team doesn't mean they lack experience, and let me show you why. To my right here is Dennis Conner, who was the crew chief for Tim Richmond for a couple of years back when they had the old Folgers team for Hendrick. Conner is one of the reasons Tim Richmond won so many races with that great team a couple of years ago. He is now part of the Slim Fast Greg Sachs team. The crew chief here is Gary Dehart to my left. Gary Dehart, coming originally with Billy Hagan and Terry Labonte years ago, was back here with Rainier Racing when Kel Yarborough won, driving a car prepared by Waddell Wilson. So Gary Dehart has now, we've been told, been named Western Auto Mechanic of the Race, winning a $1,000 prize. And Gary, listen to Greg Sachs. Gary, congratulations on being named Mechanic of the Race by Western Auto. You guys have done a whale of a job.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to receive that. We're just doing the best we can. This is our first race together. We're a little rusty on the corners, but we get there.
Not too bad a job in the pits either, even though you're a little slower than some of the regulars. You've done a pretty good job changing tires.
Yeah, I'm proud of all the guys. They've done a real good job.
Does Greg have something that he can handle, Earnhardt?
If we can get the right tires on the car, we do.
Right now, you heard Ken Schrader say, and they are talking here in the pits, Greg Sachs is a little bit loose out there, so he's going to have to bide his time, maybe wait for a final pit stop.
Well, it really doesn't reflect that because he is staying right with Earnhardt.
Ned, I wonder, would they go down and ask the Kodiak pit crew to come in and fill in for him on this last pit stop that means so much?
I don't know. That's a good thought because the Kodiak Ken Schrader's crew does it every week and certainly are a little more primed and experienced than his crew, so I don't know.
As I said, that Ken Schrader went back on the racetrack. He's back between 1 and 2, burning very slowly, but he is back on the racetrack. Meanwhile, the two Chevrolets have pulled away from the Ford and the Oldsmobile. Here's the two Chevrolet Luminas. Earnhardt, the black 3, 18, Greg Sachs. And as we look behind them, the gap, all of a sudden the cars are right on the bumper. Now, Mark Martin and Ernie Irvin about 15, 20 car lengths behind.
And they're going to get farther and farther behind too, Benny. It didn't take too many laps to get that distance as they come up on heavy traffic there, but they'll motor right through them.
Those two just can't keep up with the Chevrolet Luminas that have been so dominant here this afternoon in the Winston 500. We'll take a break and be back with more right after these messages. Of around 190, 95, even 200 miles an hour here at Talladega as Dale Earnhardt leads Greg Sachs, but we'll slow the pace down right after this event as we go to Las Vegas, Nevada for the Senior PGA Las Vegas Senior Classic. That's coming up next right after the Winston 500 here at Talladega. And tonight, settle back at 8 o'clock Eastern time for Sunday Night Baseball. Tonight featuring the New York Yankees against the California Angels. That's at 8 o'clock live tonight here on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. It remains Dale Earnhardt and Greg Sachs hooked up, pulling away from everybody else in the Winston 500. Sterling Marlin in car number 94, who was on the lead lap, one of the 7 cars on the lead lap, has pulled in and dropped out of the race. So now only 6 machines remain on the lead lap. And there is Ken Schrader as the leaders pass by. Schrader was one of those who was right up front with the other 2 throughout most of the race, but he has dropped off. Now there is Harold Kinder, who is the official flagman for NASCAR. He's the one with his back to us, and he's waving the yellow flag. Let's see if we can find out why. I don't see any accident on the racetrack. There is debris on the racetrack, we understand. Now, we were going to tell you a story involving Harold Kinder. Let's do that with Jerry Punch in the pit area.
Well, it's a rather sad story because we are saying goodbye to a longtime friend and legend here in NASCAR racing. It was announced in the drivers' meeting this morning rather tearfully that Harold Kinder, at 64 years of age, would hang it up after today. He would enter a hospital this week and have surgery on very, very arthritic-stricken knees. And, of course, for many, many years, he's made that long John Wayne-type stroll down pit road and climbed the flag stand. And when it was announced in the drivers' meeting, the drivers in total, all 40 of them, walked up and gave Harold a big hug, and he was literally in tears, a very emotional Harold Kinder, who will be missed.
We are going to miss Harold. Not only does he do such a great job as a flagman, but he's always in the pit area, always with a smile on his face, and always with a story to tell.
Yes, he's a very likable type of an individual. He certainly will be missed, no question about that. And he has a great fan following, too.
Yes, he does. Let's continue our injury report here by giving you an update on the Darrell Gwynn situation. Of course, he is the race driver, and this is the little sign that's on Bill Elliott's car. Of course, both drivers are sponsored by Coors, and we all wish Darrell Gwynn the best. He is still in Stoke Mandeville Hospital in England and still is paralyzed from the waist down. I talked with Darrell's father, Jerry, Thursday afternoon, and he says that Darrell's spirits remain good. He does have feeling in his right arm, so apparently the paralysis will not be that high, but Darrell Gwynn still does remain in Stoke Mandeville Hospital. He may be released from that facility in 2 or 3 weeks when they reach a point where he could be transferred. Now let's go to Dr. Jerry Punch and continue our medical update with a report on Bill France Jr. Jerry.
Well, good news on Mr. France, Bob. He was discharged from Halifax Hospital this past week and apparently will be able to recuperate at home, undergo some rehabilitation at home, and be back on his feet hopefully within a few weeks. And if you don't believe he was in charge the whole time, just ask the nurses up on the 8th floor at Halifax Hospital. Bill France Jr. ran NASCAR from his hospital bed for about a week and a half, undergoing surgery and repair there, but he is home now and operating NASCAR from his bed at home. We are watching pit stops here. A lot of action going on pit road. Earnhardt on the bottom of your screen. Greg Sachs on the top of your screen now. The ultra-fast crew now scampering around the left side of the car. Earnhardt's crew already have them on the left side of their car, changing left side tires. Now you're seeing a real congestion up and down pit road. And Earnhardt's car now moves in. Now Sachs moves away. You're seeing Mark Martin headed back to turn 1. A lot of cars, almost everyone in the pits for a 4-tire change here. Launching flag.
Greg Sachs did beat Ernie Ehrman out of the pits, but just about everybody else got out ahead of Greg Sachs as he moves back into the pack that's forming behind the pace car.
I'll tell you, this caution came out at a good time for most of them because green flag pit stops were coming up. They were going to have to stop very shortly. In fact, we had a report that Earnhardt's car was out of gas, and so the caution flag was very appropriate for him.
Let's go to John Kernan, who was watching the Michael Waltrip pit stop.
I tell you what, I don't believe what I just saw down here, gentlemen. We talked about fast pit stops and the importance. They took on 2 tires, enough gas to get it to the finish of this race in only 10.8 seconds. That is amazing.
Well, it has him in second place, John, on the racetrack. Terry Labonte being shown as the leader in the Skoal car number 1. But we've heard that he might have an engine problem only running on 7 cylinders, so Michael might be able to get to the front here pretty quickly.
You know, Talladega has been known in years past as producing surprise winners or first-time winners. Phil Parsons, Bobby Hillin, and several won their first race here at Talladega. We may have a surprise winner here this afternoon in the Winston 500. And watch just about in the middle of your screen a yellow car, and watch for Michael Waltrip to pull out of the pit area after an extremely quick pit stop. There he goes. 2-tire change in fuel in a little over 10 seconds. And boy, did he have a great one. That has put him in the lead as we are about to go back to green.
Now, before we went to the break, we had Terry Labonte in the lead. Labonte stayed out there, I think, to lead 1 lap under caution. He has since come into the pits, so he's at the back of the lead pack in 6th position.
I'm impressed with the way that all the drivers are getting out of the pits today. Ned, we haven't seen one driver smoke the tires leaving the pit road today.
They've done a good job.
We are nearing the end of the Winston 500 here as the field comes down and starts the race once again. The green flag is waving. Here comes Dale Earnhardt and others on the outside of Michael Waltrip, the leader, and Earnhardt shoots into the lead. Let's go to Jerry Punch quickly.
Apparently communication going on between the Earnhardt crew and the Greg Sachs crew, and I'm told that Earnhardt's crew said if you have Sachs following behind us, the 2 of us, the 2 Chevrolets, been hooked up from the whole way and leave everyone else behind, and we'll settle this race between 2 Chevrolets and leave everyone else in our dust.
Interesting situation, strategy being played out here. That looks like what's going to happen if Greg Sachs can dispose of Mark Martin. That is exactly what will happen. Martin is hanging in there in 2nd spot. The thunder of the Winston Cup cars at Talladega. Earnhardt leads. Mark Martin and Greg Sachs and Michael Waltrip.
And Ernie Irvin is caught back in the pack there behind them. You can see him on the right side of your screen. And the car number 4 trying to move around Dave Marcus. So he has some catching up to do.
Sachs trying to look inside the 6 car on Mark Martin.
He may do it here. Gets the slingshot, and it worked.
Boy, he just drove on by him just like he was on an interstate.
And now we see Earnhardt and Sachs hooked up together. And we'll see if they pull away from the rest of the field.
I bet they will.
Bet they will, too. You can see it happening already. Those who have dropped out of the race being shown to you. Derek Cope, a big disappointment as he had a chance for a $100,000 bonus if he could win here today, but he was the first out of competition. And by the way, the winner on this race will still be eligible for the Winston Million because you have to win 3 of the 4 races, and this is only the second. That Winston Million may be decided at the Southern 500. The caution flag waves once again.
Sachs backs off to the start-finish line. NASCAR is already out on the track down in turn 1. You can see it just ahead of the cars as they get slowed down.
Field slowing dramatically here. The driver is really climbing on the binders. There is a piece of debris on the racetrack. There you can see it in the middle of your screen. And so the track officials will have to come out and retrieve it. There they do. So this should be a very quick caution period.
Well, they have only run a few laps. They certainly have enough fuel to run the rest of the way, have new tires, so I expect they will not come into pits.
I would imagine not, so we'll probably go a couple of more laps here under caution and then turn them loose once again. We're just about 20 laps from the end of the Winston 500. Earnhardt and Greg Sachs have been dominating. We'll be right back. The pace car is out, indicating that next time around we will go back to racing. The 2 abreast formation is trying to be formed, but Jack Pennington is the 3rd car down there on the bottom of the racetrack. The number 19 car of Chad Little, sponsored by Bullseye Barbecue Sauce. We continue our medical update with Jerry Punch again.
One of the people that's instrumental in the Chad Little operation is a fellow by the name of Charlie Herring. Now, Charlie Herring is missing here today. He's an avid NASCAR and ESPN fan. He suffered a heart attack and is recovering at Emory Hospital in Atlanta. Charlie, we know you're watching, and all Chad Little and a lot of your friends here up and down pit road that are big fans of NASCAR and Bullseye Barbecue and Craft say wish you a speedy recovery, as we do at ESPN.
I certainly echo that. Charlie Herring and I had the pleasure of working with him in 1980. Charlie, get back to the racetrack real soon, will you?
By the way, this Bullseye Barbecue sponsored car will be carrying an in-car camera when we go to Daytona for the Pepsi 400. Jack Pennington at number 47. Boy, he has been very, very impressive. He's still only a lap down, and he's shown 9th.
Well, he's got a problem right now because he is 3 deep on the restart. That is purely against the rule. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get black flag.
Yeah, they may now pull into.
Yeah, he pulls up there. That puts him in 7th place if he is indeed in the right position.
He is, according to our scoring.
That's where he's supposed to be, is in the 7th place. We understand. So he was right if they're trying to get his position.
Okay. 6 cars on the lead lap, and Pennington would be in 7th spot.
Now, he can't do that. Can he, Benny?
No, he can't do that.
Well, now Earnhardt has taken off, so he has negated that situation that he's out in front of there.
And Jack gets left in the dust.
Yeah.
How about that? Can you believe this? The 3 and the 18 cars are pulling away from everybody.
Boy, talk about pulling away. And they are flat doing it in a hurry.
Whew. Mark Martin seemed to get a terrible start because we can hardly see the 6th car back. He's the 5th car in line. The 3rd place car is 5th in line. And laps are running out. He only has about 17 to go. He'll never catch his 2 cars.
I don't think anybody is going to catch those 2 cars. As they come down, there will be 16 more circuits to go. The Talladega Superspeedway. take kind of a break from Winston Cup racing here for about a month. The next time we'll be with you for Winston Cup racing will be in Dover, Delaware, the first weekend of June.
So 2 Chevrolets battling it out here to see who will win the 1990 Winston 500.
The 30 and the 4 cars are battling for position. They're battling for 4th, as a matter of fact. Michael Waltrip and Ernie Irvan.
Michael goes a little bit high. Ernie tries to get by on the inside.
Mark Martin is running right ahead of him, and he's in 4th. To make that 3rd.
Yeah, Ernie was able to pick up a little draft in the turn from those other cars, but once they got out of the turn, it didn't help him that much. Thought he might get some help from Chad Little, but maybe not. You see, once he gets in the turn and they dip down to the inside, that might help him a little bit. Let's see if he can pull off the turn now and move around Michael Waltrip. Yep, I believe he did.
Sure did. So Ernie Irvan goes to 4th position.
Let's see if Ernie Irvan and Michael Waltrip can get hooked up, get by Chad Little, and catch this 6th car. That would be a race for 3rd spot.
John Kernan with a comment on Michael Waltrip.
Well, that apparently is what is going on right now during practice. Billy Engel, that Michael drafts well when he's running behind Ernie Irvan, so maybe those two have hooked up together and are trying to chase down the leaders.
Now Michael's lagging behind a little right now, not able to stay up with Ernie and catch his draft. So that isn't working at the moment for him.
No, it's not. Ernie has moved on, and he'll be able to pick up the draft of Martin there very shortly. Wouldn't surprise me to see him run Martin down, although Martin is working up there with the Kyle Petty car.
Ernie Irvan running on the bottom of the racetrack. You know, remember, Michael Waltrip only changed 2 tires on that last pit stop, so it may be that these fellows have a little bit of a tire advantage on him, because the way Ernie's car is sticking on the bottom of the racetrack certainly looks like 4 new tires on that car.
Yes, he's leaving Michael Waltrip now as Michael tries to move around the Chad Little. Now Ernie has caught, there he does move around Chad Little. Ernie Irvan has caught Kyle Petty and Mark Martin. Boy, he came up in a hurry.
Yeah, Ernie Irvan is really showing some strength. He may take 3rd position here away from Mark Martin.
Moved over, didn't fight him, because one thing that's helping him, he's the first car that's 1 lap down, running in 7th position at the moment, and he sees there's 2 good race cars that can pull him away from those other cars behind him that are 1 lap down, which there are about a total of 6 cars. Kyle Petty, Morgan Shepherd, Darrell Waltrip, Hutch Strickland, Jack Pennington, and Brett Bodine from 7th through 12th as we go back to the leader.
Dale Earnhardt and Greg Sachs. Then comes Mark Martin and Ernie Irvan. Those are the cars that were a lap down, Ned. 2 laps down. In 13th position is Chad Little. Then comes Dave Marcus in 14th. 15th is Alan Kowicki. 16th is Rick Mass. 17th is Butch Miller. In 18th position is Bill Venturini. He's 5 laps down. Then 19th is Mickey Gibbs. And in 20th position is Rusty Wallace.
So Wallace will lose some more points today. It's going to be tough for him to defend his Winston Cup championship this year.
We watch these 2 Chevrolets once again, bumper to bumper. Here comes the Ford and the Oldsmobile. This is the 3rd spot.
Ford, Oldsmobile, and Pontiac drafted back there behind the leaders.
We talked about Kenny Bingham, the engine builder on Ken Schrader's car. I wouldn't be surprised if Ken Bingham and Ronnie Revitz did not also build the engine in the 18 car. That's the B&R engine shop out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, which built engines exclusively for Hendrick Motorsports. So they had 1 die on the day. Jerry Punch, do you know the answer to that question?
They were actively involved, Benny, in building the engine, but I'm told that Charlie Seegers, one of the people in the engine room himself, is involved primarily with the R&D program, and Charlie's got to be smiling quite a bit right now because, of course, learning from Kenny Bingham and those guys, you're learning from some of the masters and the best, and that's why he felt so good that his engine was able to run up there with Schrader and some of these guys.
It'll be 10 laps to go when the leaders come start finish line this time.
Dale Earnhardt leads. Sachs is second. Earnhardt has won twice here at Talladega in 83 and 84. Greg Sachs has only won one Winston Cup race. That was at Daytona. Back in just a moment. Drama of the last few laps of the Winston 500 are being played out. There are 8 more laps to go. 180 are on the board, and it's Dale Earnhardt and Greg Sachs hooked up in a 2-car draft that will settle the winner of the race.
Earnhardt's going to break his record. He's won 2 races here, but he always did it by passing someone on the last lap. Do you think he's going to move over and let Sachs get in front of him so he can pass him on the last lap?
No. No, I don't think so. I think he'll try to stay out front. How about it, Jerry Punch? What you hearing down there?
Dad, what we're hearing down here is a little bit funny. As a matter of fact, a little comical. Earnhardt is definitely concerned about Greg Sachs. In fact, Earnhardt and Childress both feel that Sachs may have a little more strength than they do. This is really unheard of almost in NASCAR racing. But one thing Earnhardt said to Childress was, I wonder if he realizes how wide this Goodrich Chevrolet is going to get on that last lap.
Well, the last time a Winston 500 was won with the last lap pass was in 1984. When Cale Yarborough passed Harry Gant. We could be seeing another one here this afternoon.
Now, Earnhardt has to be wondering just how much strength does that Chevrolet behind me have. He has passed Earnhardt several times this afternoon, has made it look easy a number of times. There are the 3rd and 4th place cars, pretty far behind.
But they are pulling Kyle Petty away from the cars that he was racing with 1 lap down.
Yep.
Kyle Petty is 7th, 6 cars on the lead lap. Six laps to go.
Win or lose, Greg Sachs has had a super run today.
You are right about that. Dale Earnhardt looking to add to his Winston Cup points lead. Morgan Shepherd, who is 2nd in points, is currently running 8th.
Might be the first time that Bud Moore, who's the car owner for Morgan Shepherd, ever pulled for a Chevrolet. You know that he's pulling for Dale Earnhardt to win the race, so his car will still be in the Winston 2 weeks from today.
Good news, bad news, because he'll add to the points lead if Earnhardt wins, but he will maintain his position to Winston. Next Sunday, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway time trials for this year's running of the 500-mile race here on ESPN.
Since we won't be on the air, we'll wish all of the fine mothers out there happy Mother's Day in advance. We won't be on the air in Winston Cup. I won't be on the air.
4 to go. Could this be a repeat of the Daytona 500? When Earnhardt dominated the race and lost it on the last lap?
Oh, that would be too cruel.
Well, if he loses it by racing, it won't hurt nearly as much as if you lose it by having a flat tire like he did at Daytona.
Dale Earnhardt already running a little bit defensive. As he comes off the corner, Ned, he's not letting the car go back out against that wall like he normally does. There's Gary Dehart, the crew chief, on Greg Sachs, Ultra Slim Fast Chevrolet.
Well, don't you guess he's maybe trying to tell Greg Sachs, now this is the way that I'm going to drive. You know, this you're seeing my plan, and then all of a sudden you might have a different plan.
And there is Richard Childress on communication with Dale Earnhardt. Less than 3 to go. Mark Martin and Ernie Irvan are still running in 3rd and 4th position. But there's several car lengths behind the first 2. They continue, though, to have a good battle for that spot.
Earnhardt don't know if Greg Sachs is just running about half throttle back there in the draft, or having to run wide open to keep up, or just what's going on.
He's going to find out, though, as there are now 2 more laps to go in the Winston 500. 2 to go. Martin continues to lead Urban. Earnhardt continues to lead Sachs. If the move is going to come, it will come 1 more lap from now.
Yeah, he won't make a move on this lap. That's for sure.
Get ready, ladies and gentlemen.
Now, where will he make it? Where in Benny does he need to make the move now?
Well, I think he's going to have to make it on the back straightaway. He has to wait coming off the second corner and make the move. White flag for the last time. Harold Kinder is going to wave the white flag on a Winston Cup stock car race.
Here it is. 1 more lap to go. Will it be Earnhardt or will it be Greg Sachs? Let's follow them around and see what happens.
Earnhardt keeps a rod down on the bottom of the racetrack.
Sachs backed up to get a good run off the second corner, Ned.
Yep, didn't back up too much.
I think he did, because Earnhardt saw that move. Look, Earnhardt all the way down, almost in the grass.
Drafted Bill Elliott just to get a little bit of help there.
Don't think Greg Sachs is going to be able to do it. He does close in just a little bit and comes within a car length.
It's a long way from the 4th turn down to the start-finish line, though.
It is a long way. Here we are. They come out of the 33 degrees of banking onto the tri-oval, banked at 18 degrees. Still, Greg Sachs runs behind Dale Earnhardt. Sachs looks to the inside. Is he going to be able to do it? He now looks to the outside. They cross the line. No, it's Dale Earnhardt winning the Winston 500, and Greg Sachs with a beautiful battle in second position. And Mark Martin crossed the line just ahead of Ernie Irvan to take 3rd spot. And the Richard Childress crew celebrates on pit road, and Jerry Punch is right there.
Richard, I know you probably had to have some doubts. You knew Sachs was awful strong.
Yeah, but when you got Dale Earnhardt strong on the last lap, I mean, that's like having a bunch extra. You know, you came out and said that we had a little, you know, they had a little extra. We did too. We had Dale Earnhardt in the car.
Well, he certainly made that Goodrich Chevrolet awfully wide in that final lap.
Yeah, you know, he done a super job for all the people at Goodrich, and, you know, for the team, and, you know, we're just tickled to death. After what happened at Daytona, you know, we just feel great now.
I guarantee you they're celebrating here in the Goodrich pit. Let's check in where John Kernan is standing by with Rick Hendrick.
Thank you, Jerry. Rick, finished second. Got to be a good run for you.
Yeah, it is. You know, it's tough. You're disappointed. Dale ran a great race. We thought we had something for him there at the end, and Greg said on radio, a lap car got in his way, but I don't know if we could have beat him. But, you know, I'm glad we finished second. This team really deserves a lot of credit for what they've done today, and, you know, a little disappointed because we didn't have a shot to win it, but next week we're happy to put the 2nd place. Congratulations to Dale.
You're going to give Paul a call? I think he was watching.
Yeah, hey, Paul, you should have been here. It was a great race. Okay.
Okay, there you have it from Rick Hendrick. Disappointed, but still kind of elated about the good finish.
Dale Earnhardt wins his 2nd race here in 2 days. He won IROC yesterday, and today he comes home the champion of the Winston 500. We'll be back to talk with him in a moment. For our Sears Road Handler Winner's Circle interview. Jerry?
Dale has climbed out of the car and celebrating here with wife Teresa and daughter Taylor Nicole. And Dale, congratulations on a great effort.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the good Lord for a safe race, and Richard Childers and Goodrich crew for a good race car. It's the same car we had at Daytona, and we didn't run over anything this time on the last lap. We made it back.
A lot of concern in the pits that they thought that possibly Sachs would have something left for you in that final lap, but they said when they saw you had him coming out of 4, they knew you would hang on.
He was strong. I'm gonna tell you, he had strong, but always before he had some help behind him. So you know, it just I just had to work him. Elliott helped some on the backstretch. He was going along the bottom, and I drafted off him. And Sachs is still strong, man. He was still strong. We beat him back. I was really tickled.
After the run today, it has to make up a little bit for Daytona.
Well, it does. But still, we got to win Daytona. Daytona's not Talladega, but we're tickled to death to come down here. We hadn't won here since about 85 or so, and the guys are really excited about it.
Good friend Neil Bonnet watching at home. I'm sure he's celebrating too.
Yeah, I hope he is. I hope he watched it. It's a typical Neil Bonnet race here. It's the kind of race he'd like to enjoy being at, and you know, I'm anxious to see him well and back and doing what he wants to do. But you know, I would like to say hi to him and my mom and my daughter and the son back home, Kelly and Kerry, and you know, everybody's just doing so great here in Victor Lane. We're having a big time.
Dale Earnhardt wins the Winston 500 and becomes eligible for the Winston Million, and a young man who had a whale of a race is standing by with John Kernan.
Thank you, Jerry. Greg Sachs, second place. It's a good return to the sport right here.
Well, it sure is, and it's a credit to my man right here, Gary D. Hart, and the Hendrick organization. You know, Charlie and Randy Dorton, they put this engine together, and it's a great car. Gary built this car from the ground up, and I owe a lot to him. You know, and if it wasn't for the back and the Ultra Slim Fast, you know, I wouldn't be here today, so that's great.
When you tried the move on Earnhardt, did he just have too much car for you?
Well, you know, the best two cars finished first and second. What can I say? A little disappointed that I didn't win it, but we had a heck of a run, and you know, Dale and I had hooked up quite a bit through the day to break away from the field, and that was kind of the strategy. Let's go out and race for it and let the best man win. And today was Dale's turn. Maybe tomorrow will be mine.
Well, congratulations and better luck next time. Greg Sachs, second place finisher, but still pretty happy guy down here near the gas pumps.
All right, and the 200-mile-an-hour barrier was broken here this afternoon on lap 159. Dale Earnhardt turned a lap at 200.587. Back in a moment. Finishers in the Winston 500 here at Talladega Superspeedway this afternoon. Dale Earnhardt, Greg Sachs, Mark Martin, Ernie Irvan was fourth, and Michael Waltrip finished in fifth position.
The Kodak car, Ernie, first of all, congratulations on a great effort today.
Thank you. You know, I owe it all to the crew. You know, the Kodak Films, Doug Cormios and Bill ran awful good today, and you know, I just hung on and you know, wound up fourth.
The draft, I guess, was so critical throughout the afternoon. Did you think you might have any shot at running with Earnhardt and Sachs?
No, we were just a little short of them, but you know, we're going to go home and work on it just a little bit, maybe have a little more for them at Daytona.
Got to be a dream come true coming with the Morgan McClure team, running so well at Atlanta, now running well at Talladega. I mean, it's really got to be on top of the world.
Hey, it's a good run for us. You know, it's our second best finish of the year, so we're real happy.
Ernie Irvan finishes fourth here at Talladega. The 21st annual Winston 500 is history, and Dale Earnhardt picks up his third win of the year here in NASCAR competition. We'll be back.
Speedway, the Winston 500 is history. We'll show you the top 20 finishers and quick closing comments from Ned Jarrett and Benny Parsons.
Well, as we look into the second 10, there's Steve Morgan Shepherd. This is the 9th race of the season. He's finished in the top 10 in all 9 races.
Only one driver this year has multiple victories. Dale Earnhardt has won 3 times. What are they going to do to beat Dale Earnhardt?
Let's take a look at the Winston Cup points. We see that Dale Earnhardt maintains the lead. Morgan Shepherd hangs in there in second position. Mark Martin moves to third. Darrell Waltrip goes to fourth, and Jeff Bodine falls back to fifth position. Coming up next here on ESPN, we have seniors golf coming up for you from Las Vegas, Nevada. Don't forget Sunday night baseball tonight. And next week, we will be at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for time trials for this year's 500. Dale Earnhardt wins the Winston 500. For Ned Jarrett, Benny Parsons, Dr. Jerry Punch, and John Curtin, this is Bob Jenkins. So long, everyone.
Morning, folks. This is Captain Neely. Appears we...
The lush green